Welcome everybody back to the CBLOL English. My name is Trajan, joined by TDS once again as the Split 1 of 2026 rolls forward. We've now had a couple of weeks of play, TDS. We got our strong teams, we got our weak teams, and today it does seem like a bit of a David and Goliath day. Both of our matchups, I think, have a pretty clear favorite, and an upset would be a pretty exciting thing to see.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I understand the strong teams that we have and the weak teams that we have. I'm surprised that one of the weak teams is playing today, and the name that is currently one of our weak teams, right? Because the way that it's been separated, the way that it's been set up, I think almost nobody thought Leviathan was going to be one of the stronger ones, maybe going towards the middle of the pack. Furia obviously trying to ramp up. I think the more surprising one is going to be our second matchup with Red Candid Spain, with Red being so clearly the favorite and so number one, and Pain on the complete opposite, kind of. Maybe not
Yeah.
the weakest, but down there when you think about it.
I think they might be, you know what I mean? Well, right? I think they were in the first couple of weeks, but we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get to it. But they have now brought karaoke back into the jungle. They've identified that it's not working, so we might be able to see a little bit more from them, especially into Red Jungler Steps, who is obviously a fresh promotion into Tier 1. So, but we'll get into that after this series. So Furia and Lev. Furia, I think ramping up is absolutely the right word. First series against Los was a close one, but they did not really look like themselves. They looked a lot more refined in their next series, and they're now, I think, very comfortably would be seen as one of the favorites as well. Like, Tatu got straight back to winning ways. The bot lane in particular, I think, has looked very, very crispy. Io's had his ups and his downs, but they've been investing in him. They've been building around him even more than usual, and he has been popping off in some of these games.
Yeah, and I think they needed to get like that first game out of the way, not necessarily because they needed to get jitters or anything like that, but more so because usually your first game is where you see most of the flaws when you're trying to like accommodate yourself in a lot of the ways, and certainly that happened for Furia there. I cannot say the same for Leviathan though, because I feel like for their first series and their second series, they've made some of the similar mistakes that they've been doing before, even this split. I think they are keeping that up in ways that I hope they can correct, but it doesn't really feel like that even when they're trying.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of the life has gone out of this team. They were a very exciting team to watch last time. They had a lot of young talent, especially this top side with Devis and Bookie, that were playing it aggressively. They were playing confident. They were able to take scalps off some of our better players. But the inexperience of the team, I think, was holding them back a little bit, and we were excited where they were going to go. However, the loss of the veteran Sayo down in bot side has taken a lot of the sting out of them, especially in this bot lane. And it feels like the top side are just a little bit less balanced. They don't really have as strong of a platform to play from, and have not been able to find much success. They're still getting a couple of early plays here and there, but ultimately it's looking like a very tough road for them. And now Furia, as we saw in the CBLOL Cup, is a very bad stylistic matchup for them, right? Leviathan really loves to get a lead early in their lanes through their 1v1 potential and then play through that. And Furia is the team that has been setting the bar for laning prowess ever since this kind of iteration of the roster from a couple years ago.
Yeah, and to put like even more power into that, right? The fact that you already are going towards an early idea with Tattoo having more agency with that Jarvan early in the game, it's going to be more impactful for Fury in that way. I like the way that it's been setting up a little bit on the draft here. Leviathan, like you were mentioning, trying to go for that early potential with even a point and click CC on the Pantheon, but having the Jarvan to go against it going to be a little bit bothersome for them. And now it's going to be how they can set up the remaining of the lanes. A lot of focus towards maybe having more power towards their mid jungle duo on the side of Leviathan, where Furia maybe is going to try and set up just for themselves in lanes and give the agency for Tattoo to move around the map and find more avenues to get those leads ahead. But interestingly enough, with their first pick, I think we've seen quite a bit of focus towards the junglers on that first pick, but also a lot of it has been going towards just securing a power pick, be it in any lane that it is, and trying to take also out some picks that you can later on see in the game. Because usually you can just trade some of the power picks, but then you want to take away some of the picks that maybe your opponent desires more for the rest of the series, and that can enable you even more. And I think Leviathan tried to go for something like that because the Vard, I feel more so than just being a power pick they can take, it's kind of still away from JoJo.
Yeah, I think that fearless best of three element that we have here in the regular season stage of Split 1 does give you that extra element of drafting to work around. Some of our teams struggled a little bit with that in the Cup, Lost being the one that comes to mind for me, but they have certainly shaped up, and Leviathan are trying to use this extra element a little bit more. Now, it is always tough to draft into Furia. These guys have historically deep pools. They're willing to try
Yeah.
kind of kooky combinations. They'll do Senna Udyr in bot lane and give IU, this incredibly mechanical AD carry player, they'll give him an Udyr. They'll give him a Sion, right? They can play with
Yeah.
that flexibility. So Furia is hard to exploit in this way, and you do have to try and steal some of their pro picks. Now, the bot lane focus is pretty strong here, especially from Furia. They banned Yunara, Varus, and Caitlyn to try and take away these strong lane combinations with the Bard. We'll see what Snaker wants to lock in as Furia lock down the Akali into, presumably, we have to say, the top lane, though I'm going to be honest, until we actually see it locked in, given that it's Furia, given that it's Gigo, I'm not going to write off Anivia top just yet.
Yeah, it could go any way. Like, you have a lot of flexibility here with that Akali, with Anivia. So having so much power to be able to move around some of your picks is going to be really good for the side of Furia. And then for Leviathan, I feel like they can just stick to something much more consistent, try and set up something that you know is tested, it's confidently good for what you want to play with it. I think the core keep makes sense here, goes well against the Ezreal, and has escape tools to try and run away. And then against K'Sante, that is a pretty good blind pick, especially when you don't know what is going to be picked, if it's this Akali, if it's Nivea, or something else. Pretty good in terms of just having something safe blindly that can be consistent as well. For Furia, though, feels like there's so many options that they can go for here. I think Anivia Ezreal on the bot lane would be a great pairing just in general with the poke potential, and then how much they can bother the Corki and the Bard. And then you can just go for the Akali, be it in the mid lane or in the top lane, and it looks like it's going to be mid lane Akali, or, well, yeah, mid lane Akali, because I don't know where the Ambassa would go if it's not there.
Yeah, realistically, right? So we've seen the Anivia Ezreal once before so far in the first split. It was, I think, Fluxu maybe who locked it in, or it might have been Leviathan actually. So we've seen this at least once. It didn't do too well in that game, and normally we see it as answers to things like Nico, but it does have a strong kind of a concept at the core of it there. Anivia brings a lot of CC, a lot of disruption to that bot side. The passive obviously gives her a lot more ability to play more aggressively in a trade, perhaps with that knowledge that you've got the passive to extend the fight afterwards. So we'll see how Jojo turns his hand to it. Obviously, no stranger to strange picks. This is a guy who's played Skarner support in the last year, so we know that he's probably been cooking this one up for a while. And we'll see how they fare into the Corki Bard, which is a little bit more of a standard combination. A lot of burst in the Corki Bard, not the highest range though, so maybe a little tougher to play into a Corki Anivia who can try and hold them back.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, yes, it was Leviathan, the one that played that bot lane. And it was the same bot lane, Ezreal and Avia. So it feels like maybe this is going to be one of the pairings we have moving forward. I think makes sense because of the poke potential that it does bring. And like you're mentioning, I think one of the main things that you can always look for in Anivia support particularly is the wall positioning, because it can just mess up completely anything that happens in team fights. It can set up for your team perfectly. You're able to just separate one of the core targets and then enable your team to be able to lock down one of the most important members. It's always going to be really ideal. And it's not like there's a ton of mobility on the side of Leviathan when you consider it. It's mainly like the position or misplacement that the Pantheon has with his W and his ultimate, and then the Realm Warp, pretty much. Oh, and the Corki W. But that's about it. Unless you want to commit things like portals or things like that, it's going to be pretty effective to just separate targets, be able to lock them down, or in team fights, be able to enable your team to just focus on one side and then separate the other side as well. This for Dragon Pit or for Reaver Dragon fights, I think it's understandable what I'm trying to say. It's the main strength because it's just so useful to try and separate everyone and have your team be at an advantage in numbers almost always.
Okie doke, here we go onto the Rift, everybody. Furia and Leviathan, game number one, getting underway. Leviathan, certainly the underdogs in this first matchup. Furia have really been scaling up into their peak form over the last couple of weeks. We're still trying to find out what the direction really of this Leviathan team is going to be, what the foundation is that they're going to try and build from, representing the LLA here in the new CBLOL. So, Furia, we're expecting to see, I think, for top side, Gigo's Pro and Devast. I imagine that there's not too much 1v1 potential here. Of course, the K'Sante does have ability to punish over aggression by the Ambessa, so when pushing on the tower, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Ryze, I think, can hold Akali at arm's length for pretty much the most of the lane. Of seeing Anger also aware of that fact, is keeping Tuts far back off this wave. And then I'm really interested to see how this bot lane 2v2 plays out, right? Corki Bard, as we say, it has a lot of damage. It's very strong 2v2. But IU and Jojo have just been playing on such another level, and Snaker and Toplop, on the other side have been struggling a bit. They've been a little bit of a liability. So Leviathan, at least with a 2v2, maybe they can use this to find some purchase in this game, because if they don't, I think there's a big problem for Leviathan going into the mid and late.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and I think it's gonna be really dependent on how Enga in the mid lane is gonna be able to play around with Buki. Because with their composition or with the way that they drafted, right, they focused a lot into giving them early priority and having early control with this 2v2, especially knowing that it's an Akali, you can play against her pretty early on. She's not going to have a lot of impact until level 6, I would argue. Until that time, she's not really going to be effective. So I want to see how they move around the map, because realistically, how we're looking right now around the map, apart from maybe Guigo, which is getting pushed right now, the lanes for Furia should be a little bit stronger and should have more control to enable Tattoo. So this means that they need to react to those lanes and be able to put more pressure on them so that they can give Leviathan the lead in any way. And I'm excited to see how they are going to try and move around, because if they get shot down early on, I'm not sure what their win condition would be eventually.
Tuts dropping a little bit low. Enga using a lot of his mana bar to keep the HP difference nice and wide for him in that mid lane. We can see Tatu working on red buff top side right now. Devist has just TP'd back to top side, so he's got a little bit of extra defensive stats to work with off that Ruby Crystal. And we're not going to see Jarvan head to an early play up there. It looks like might be going to a top scuttle, maybe looking for mid lane, as Bookie on the Pantheon has arrived into bot side. Spotted by a red ward though, so Ayu and Jojo know he's going on down there.
Yeah, the vision control able to spot the jungler in that position. It's gonna be the same story here for Devasto, because as you see, there's a ward already in that place, and it's easy to notice where the junglers end up eventually. The push though goes back into the favor of Furia, so nothing much will end up happening. No flash point and click CC from the Pantheon, no Bard Portal play, but you can see already, look at that, the positioning on the wall always enables the setup, but I like the counter punch that the side of Leviathan has. This is going to be an interesting matchup in terms of who can get the stun first and who can set up better for the AD carry to try and get or lay the damage down as much as possible, but not much early attention from the junglers just yet.
Yeah, we have seen Tatu. He's arriving near the bot side. I was going to say, we have seen him dedicate a lot more time to that bot lane than I think we're used to. Normally, we're used to seeing Furia play through Gigo and Tatu, right? They push hard on the top side to get Gigo in a place where he can playmate, and they rely on the other lanes to kind of handle their business, which they are generally pretty good at doing. But we've seen a bit of a refocus in Furia. I think Tatu, more emphasis on that bot side. Maybe, is the reason why we're seeing so much performance out of them, as Devist is threatening onto Gigo right now. He's got a fat wave stacked up, and the knockup from the Intofo strikes was ready to go. Gigo will escape back to his turret, though.
Yeah, has been able to push really nicely there, Devas, forcing a little bit on the Ambessa so that she doesn't just consistently attack you or poke you. And I think that's one of the main things that you can always count on the Cassante, is that even in matchups that you feel that he may be losing or that he may not get the most advantage on, he's always going to be pretty consistent in finding some way to be able to bother you, mess you up, or just set up for a gank or something similar to that. He's a really all-rounder champion in a lot of ways that just enable you really effectively. Like you were mentioning, though, with Tachi moving so much around the bot side, I don't think he was spotted at all looking into his jungle. There was a word that I really liked on the lane that enabled or that stopped him from ganking, and Leviathan had vision in case he came from the lane. But because nothing ended up happening, they were able to just reassemble themselves, come back into the lane, and have a little bit of good positioning for themselves to try and play around this dragon potentially. Although Tattoo already setting up topside, maybe wanting to look for a gank, but the vision control has been really good. Nothing much has been happening on either side because the vision has been good enough to control both junglers.
Yeah, I think we've seen Tattoo, tend towards a lane a few times now in this early game, but has always been spotted out, has never been able to find a good opportunity to go for that early gank. The Jarvan loves to get a few early ganks off, not been able to find the opportunity just yet. Level 5 right now, approaching that level 6 will put even more sting into that gank, as Tut actually commits a lot of damage onto Enga, trying to keep them both at a low HP bar. Of course, the Akali has that execution ultimate, whereas the Rise ultimate really has no combat power, so trying to keep that threat high. As we see bot lane still pushing in the favor of Ayu and Jojo, giving cover for Tattoo to start up that Kemtech break.
Taking advantage of the push, knowing that Buski is also on the top side, pushing on the Scuttle Crab, gives you enough space to be able to go for that dragon. There is a chance here that we could have seen maybe an attempt onto the Akali just because of how much health she did use before in the fight against the Rise, but Pantheon just goes away, Dragon is getting finished, and pretty just a normal setup. It feels like for both sides where they are trying to go for things, nothing really goes out of the ordinary, but they don't lose anything either. It's kind of just like a waiting game to see who really makes the big step, and if you can answer that big step or just wait for something to happen.
Yeah, so we've had a no kill so far in this early game. First strike for Furia, but the gold is basically even as we approach the
Yeah.
7-minute mark. And honestly, it's not that common that we see this. Normally, we see Furia start to build small leads from the word go in these games because their laning is so strong. Even if they don't have traditionally winning matchups, they are normally able to eke out these advantages. But it does show you that Leviathan are not to be written off in that regard. The laning has always been their strongest regard. That's where they find the leads that they try and play through later. So they've been able to keep up with Furia, which is like the first task that most people don't even succeed at. You know, most people just fall behind in the first 10 minutes. The first Dragon, rolls around. Maybe Furia have even given up a couple of kills to sloppy gank awareness in those first few minutes, but they're still ahead in gold somehow, and then the team fights just go for them.
Yeah, as far as laning advantages go, like you're mentioning, Furia just finds some that are really effective. I think usually on the back of Tattoo just being able to hover around smartly on lanes and giving their laners a smart leads that eventually get bigger and bigger. And then, like you're mentioning, I think their later stages is really where they end up shining because they use their leads in lane, but they find really good movements that just enable them to find even more value. Although now Toots maybe getting set up here a little bit, good amount of damage. I don't think Eng is gonna die or is gonna suffer in any way. There's no way he gets locked down from the Nivea being so far away. And because it's been like really locked down in the mid lane where there's not enough movements coming in from either Enga or Tooth, it feels like the game has been slower just because we haven't seen the usual roams from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Tattoo arriving towards Devast here, gets clipped by the public execution. Gigo forces the play. Bookie's working on the grubs right now, but ults towards top side as Devast got all out of the Rise ultimate too. Leviathan rotate en masse to catch out the Furia top jungle. First blood for Bookie as Gigo's knocked out. Tattoo with nowhere to go. Leviathan with a wonderful rotation in top river for the first 2 kills.
Yeah, 4 members end up rotating topside, and you see the impact of being able to move around. That's why I wanted to make the point where seeing them be so locked into mid lane didn't enable really the idea that Leviathan has. But as soon as you're able to break up a little bit from that just same idea, move around the map a little bit more, and bring the members that Leviathan has, I think this time around they obviously had the numbers advantage. But if you're able to move around Enga before everyone else, and then also be able to have the impact from the point and click CC that both Buki and Enga have, it's easier to be able to lock down those targets and find the advantages. And a really important fight, not only because of the advantage that they get, the 2 for nothing essentially that they find, but also the grubs that they are able to accumulate so that they can fight on the side lane even better. But yeah, 4 members already here, pointing click CC on 2 of them, and even with Toots and Jojo trying to move around, they are simply not quick enough to follow up on the movement that you get from the realm warp, from the portal, and that's the advantage that Leviathan have to play with.
Power of the Globals not respected by Furia in that top play, and they sink to about 1,000 gold in the hole and giving up the grubs, as you mentioned. Tuts now committing shurikens onto Enga, sticking for a little bit more of a trade this time as the lane goes on. It's still pretty even, but Leviathan now in a pretty comfortable spot. Gigo continuing to struggle in the 1v1, manages to sidestep the knockup this time, but the Cassante decidedly leading right now with that first item completion. The 1v1 this does not look very playable for Giga right now.
Yeah, the gauntlet almost always just makes you so strong in these 1v1s because you always end up getting slowed. The 2 toughest strikes from the Kisante just set you up for the ultimate. And then if Devils have ultimate, I'm pretty sure we would have seen him pop it to try and go for the kill on the Mbessa, but already just setting up dominance, not only in the fact that he has the advantage in assists, but also in terms of the CS. He's 108, 287, almost 20 CS. I'm not going to calculate it. I think it's 21, the difference, 22 now. But now a gang from Tattoo.
Return attempt in topside. The ult's committed once again. Buffered by Devast out of there to use the unstoppable. Commits the all out.
Perfect.
And outplays the 1v2. Flashes in fact. Tries to sneak a kill onto Gigo. Cannot quite find it, but Devast threatening again in the 1v2.
Yeah, the setup there, I think it wasn't necessarily bad coming in from Furia. They went in with the 2 ultimates and almost are able to find the right place onto the Kisante. But once again, this is why it's such a safe pick and such a consistently good pick. You just enable yourself with the cancellation that position, and then you're able to get the kill as we go.
Been caught
Yeah.
trying to farm the wave. He thought the Devas had completed the back, but the trap was laid,
Yeah.
and Devas finds that kill. Touch now TPing into bot side. The counterplay from Furia is on the line right now. Bookie in that bot river.
Didn't
Do
know
they
about
know
this.
Akali's ready and waiting? Snaker tries to get some damage down the route, finds onto Akali, dives back to the safety of the team. The Bard ultimate slowing down Jojo, and Leviathan will peel away onto their side of the map. The Dragon is stopped for now, but Furia, they don't want to just pick it up.
Yeah, and I don't think Furia can now try and go for a fight for this unless they really want to commit for the Dragon, because now they don't have a Kali ultimate, they don't have a better setup. Uki is going forward, taking a little bit too much damage that he didn't need to take it all, but it's going to be difficult to fight for this because without the Akali ultimate, you do lose out on a lot of your damage. That being said, the Dragon is not getting started and there's not a lot happening. Only thing that ended up happening is that kill on the top side. But the rest of the way that Leviathan can look into this, they can just wait for a setup, wait for the Pantheon to back here. He has ultimate, so there's nothing really to scare them from trying to fight for this Dragon against Furia in this position.
They have peeled away for now. Bookie heading onto his top side. Does have Grand Skyfall, but doesn't seem to want to opt for it. So he's just going to go to that top side. It's going to be second Drake then. Given over to Furia. Leviathan playing very respectfully right now, despite the lead that they have, but I guess they don't want to rush into a blind team fight they don't feel confident in. So Furia going to pick up that second Drake. Hextech Rift Force as well, a very powerful soul to play for Furia with the advantage there, but Nevus, once again, find the 1v1, all out Gigo away from the tower. In comes the Pantheon ult to block the escape, or has he given the escape through over to Gigo? Public execution right onto Bookie at max range, gets the Ambessa back to safety.
Okay, that was really nice coming in there by Guigo, stopping the gank attempt there because I really like the way the Devils played it, and the positioning from Buki was also nice with the ultimate, trying to cut the escape routes, but well done with the public execution. This is the thing with both of these champions, Kisanti and Mbessa, they have way too many tools to just try and run away from a gank. It's just really difficult. Even if you have a smart setup, it's really difficult to find a kill in that position. Still, what is important for them though, it's the time that you're able to buy, because with Rigono dying there, Pantheon committing so much, it opens up space for now Furia to find a little bit of an opening here in the mid lane, push onto the turret and get a little bit more gold. You're always looking for those small amounts of gold when you're this far behind, or behind. No, I wouldn't say this far behind because it's not really a big gold difference, but it's still something that they are going to need to try and come back into this game. The fact that they have 2 dragons already, and the fact that they are able to reposition IU into the mid lane and open up space for this Ezreal is going to be really good to try and cut up as much as possible. And it's Hextech Soul as well, which for an Ezreal, this is actually a really good soul to play for.
Yeah, it enjoys both of those stacking abilities, right? Excellent ability haste scaling plus the attack speed. Well, if you're actually weaving your autos properly, as the best Ezreal players do, you get a lot of shared value there, as Tuts is on vision right now. So Leviathan know that they have an Akali waiting around the corner to try and pounce on Furia. Knowing they don't see the angle, will simply back away. We see the only gold lead on the side of Furia is in IU's pocket. The only lane ahead is bot side. It kind of feeds into what we were saying before. The bot side for Furia has been playing so well this split, and Leviathan's has been struggling kind of as a counterbalance there. Their top side that we saw from last split, they're all doing well. They've managed to make plays, they've managed to find kills, but the bot line is once again a little bit of a liability. So Furia have something to try and punish right now, but they do need to cover for their own weaknesses, right? Gigo only just completed the Eclipse. Now maybe he can scrap a little better, but it has been a struggle for him as Tuts and Tatu looking to commit onto Enga right now. Tatu, in fact, holding position right now under the turret. The execution for Tuts drops the rise very low. Here. Does Tatu want to go for it? It's actually cancelled by Enga. Drops the flag. Does not go for the drag, however. He's just going to clear up the vision. Doesn't feel confident going for the dive. He can't lock down that rise at the first instance. Now going to force Enga to ult his way to safety, so he will survive at the end of it.
Yeah, I like the idea. I want to give props because I like the way that they were trying to set it up, going around the vision, forcing as much health as possible, and then trying to go for the dive. Obviously, with maybe another champion probably works out better because the Ryze does have a tool to try and escape from almost anything thanks to his Realm Warp. But the idea, the setup that they were looking for is really good. And it's something that we were talking about early on in the game that I was expecting to see more out of Leviathan, but it's actually Furia the ones that are trying to commit a little bit more to it. Playing for the 2v2 in your advantage and trying to use the damage or the lockdown that you have to be able to take down the enemy mid laner. We haven't seen much from Buki and Enga working together in the 2v2 side lane to try and force that onto the Akali with the point and clicks, but from Furia, we have seen a little bit more action in that sense. Now they have been setting up to try and get down this turret down here in the bot side, maybe to get more control over on the Dragon River. And the Dragon spawning in 120 means that they want to try and focus down as much as possible over here.
Leviathan with the bot river control right now. Top plot maybe searching for an angle on this Bard. Has the roaming potential, has the opportunity to try and start plays with the ultimate. Can be followed up easily by Enga, by Bucky with their matching ultimates as well. But for now, it will still be waiting, I guess, for this dragon to come up. 1 minute left on the Hextech. Would be Hextech's sole point for Furia if they can find it. But they did not have to fight for the last two Drakes. They were sneaking them away. Now Leviathan still with 1,000 gold in their pocket to play with, hitting some of these mid-game spikes now with Staker getting towards that second item on the Corki. We don't quite have the Seraph stun for Enga, but it's very, very close. I'm sure they will not want to give this Drake over to Furia as easily.
Yeah, nobody with second items completed just yet. I think the closest one would probably be this Ezreal that is reaching the mana minute point really close. But it doesn't seem like nobody's going to have that second item for this dragon fight. And if Leviathan want to go for the dragon fight, which they can try and force here, it's going to be important to see how they are going to try and approach it or how they are going to try and find angles. Because one of the main things I think they are going to look for is getting some control over this river. Because against an Anivia, being blind into the river is the worst thing possible. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see as Leviathan at the start of this right now, having their rise chunked out to the point where he has to leave. Considering the fact that Gigo does not have teleport and Devas does, they have no opportunity for their Ambessa to actually make this play. Potentially, will just try and cancel the TP of Devas if she can. But Furia, here comes the counter play. They've managed to lock up Bucky, but they don't have much damage though. Tatu is actually suffering more. Tucked into the backline. Top Plot ults himself for safety. Catches the Akali as well, who gets back into the safety. But there comes Tuts picking off the Bard. Devas has arrived with a TP. The mid lane turret's already gone down. Tuts is not allowed to escape as Devas covering a retreat. And now Furia have to cede the space. They flee back to their mid lane inner and they leave Dragon control to Leviathan.
That's a really weird fight in the way that it ended up happening. And now it's going to be 100% Dragon going in the favor of Leviathan. Important things to point out, there was no teleport on the Ambessa, so there was no way for her to actually commit to a fight in this position. And even if, I don't think there was a right... Oh, wait, Jojo.
We're going again on the re-engage. If Ayu can get into range, he's got the damage. Tatu with the double knockup. Does he have enough to lock them down? Cataclysm is there. Flashes to safety. Enga locked in the walls, but Top Flop has arrived once again. Gigo still has no teleport as Leviathan. They pick up the Drake. They'll catch Jojo in the passive as well. Furia tried to retake, but they only give away more as Gigo has to flash away from Devas. The ultimate to try and buffer it. Is still knocked down under the turret, and Cassante will slip away alive.
Yeah, and they're losing in every front on the game from Furia's side. It's not typical to see them commit some of these mistakes, but it's really nice to see Leviathan taking advantage of them. They not only get the Dragon, but they get a couple of teamfight wins, or a couple of wins all around the map. But I want to point out something if we get the replay here, because the way that it started, it was Tatu doing the Dragon, and then everyone kind of setting up a collapse on each side to try and get onto the part, if I'm not wrong. The problem is that when the initial engage happened, I think Jarvan Flag and Drag got cancelled by the wall from the Anivia, so they couldn't find... Look here, it was going to be a stun onto Buki, but the wall from the Anivia wasn't able to prop right, and it actually ended up messing up the Flag and Drag from the Jarvan, making it so that the Pantheon could pop the Rip Herald and then join into it really easily. So they could not follow up on the remaining of the fight. They get the turret as well, so they take the extra layer of protection that Furia had at that point. And then following up onto the remaining fight, it was easier for Leviathan to just get a lot done because the Akali was already down. The Ezreal was not in the right spot. And then it felt like Tatu was committing too much, trying to find the Cataclysm. The point and clicks you see always amazing to just mess you up completely. And it's just such an easy fight. After the cooldowns from the side of Furia are already down, the remaining of the fight is just much easier to follow up from Leviathan. So really good fight in general, and a couple of mistakes here and there that really ended up costing the side of Furia a lot.
Leviathan cracked all the outer turrets in the last couple of minutes. Furia have answered with a couple of their own, but the gold lead for Leviathan has only increased. 2.5k now. They managed to stop the dragon stacking. They still have the grubs bonus to increase the power of those pushes as well, and they've gotten into this mid game very, very comfortably. Furia have not been able to get any advantages down. Tatu has not been able to find an angle. Looks right now, gets it onto Bucky with the Cataclysm. Tuts and Ayu trying to chip away at this Pantheon. They'll surely find it eventually. Top lip with the ultimate. catches one, but he's now the rotation from Furia has come through. First kill secured, Tuts waiting in the shroud, dashes through onto the Bard and takes it down.
Maybe
but
that,
Sean
though.
has given his life up for the pleasure. Snaker picks that one up. It's a 2-for-1 for Furia.
Yeah, even though they do kill the Kali in that position, I do like the way that they were forcing that. They committed onto multiple fronts, and this is one of the things that I feel like Furia has to commit to. Play so that you get multiple flank angles. Find the right place for the Akali to come through, from Gigo to come from the other side. If you're able to lock them down in multiple places, even if they have an advantage in the way that the fight was going to happen, if they get forced, it's going to be much difficult for them as Tattoo...
Startling, the flash from Enga says absolutely not. You may not greed for this scuttle like this, my friend. Takes him down. Leviathan now 8 kills to 3, keeping the gold income on those carries. So crucial.
Yeah, important that they are able to find so much gold, and also important that it's going on to the members that are going to be doing the heavy lifting later on, because one thing we were mentioning before, IU having an advantage, right? Look at where it's at now. It's pretty much negligible. Actually, it's completely gone now. The Baron, it's a tough spot to try and defend here for Furia.
No Tattoo, no Smite available. Furia want to contest. They're going to have to find it in a fight, but Tuts is getting shredded by Leviathan. Flash follow from Snaker over the wall. Akali has no thing to do here right now. Bucky is going to ult on top just for safety. They have at least stopped the Baron for now. Tattoo's back alive, but he's heading off to bot side. I think he knows this play is done.
Yeah, it stops the Baron, thankfully, for Furia. And I would argue that losing Baron buff here for Furia would pretty much be dooming yourself in the game, because they have no real wave clear. This is an Anivia support, not an Anivia mid lane. There's no way to stop minion waves, super minion waves, if you have nothing like an actual wave clearing mage to put a stop to them. So if they lose Baron buff, it's going to be pretty difficult to fight it out. And here, the mistake from Tattoo, going for that scuttle grab, a little bit too much focused on trying to get those objectives without actually having a dragon or anything like that. It opens up the space for the Baron in this position, and having to force Toots to have to teleport and force a play without really needing to. Importantly though, one thing I would argue, the cooldowns that were forced out of Leviathan actually are going to be meaningful for our next fight. There's no flash on Enga, and there's no flash on Snaker or Top Lock. Those are 3 objectives that you want to lock down in a Cataclysm. So maybe there's something that you can play around with now that there's no flashes on any of those 3. But it's a very small margin that you have to try and work with, especially looking into the next dragon in 5 seconds, which I don't think they're going to fight at all.
Yeah, it really feels like Furia have to find a pick or some sort of someone sleeping in a side lane to have an advantage where they can go into the play already, you know, with a lead. They've got 2 items on the Akali, on the Ezreal, on the Ambessa, all of these kind of targets that can get a lot of DPS down, can potentially isolate an opponent, but Leviathan are closing ranks. They're not playing riskily. They're not pushing waves too far. They've picked up the second Drake right here. They've covered their bases. Their vision play is good. Leviathan are looking very controlled today. And yeah, you know, the only advantage that Furia could find in that bot side has not translated because of how well Leviathan have been able to play the objectives, play the fights, find picks of their own. And Snaker's 3 items deep right now. He's almost, it feels like he's, you know, at least half an item ahead of the Ezreal. He's got Collector, Mermana, and Triforce. This Corki damage is going to be massive.
Yeah, with the way that the game started, I wasn't expecting to see Snaker be this far ahead of IU, especially having already an extra item over IU, essentially. And that difference in the AD carry position is going to be really massive, because once again, the good thing about Leviathan is the easiness of the lockdown that they have makes it so that it's pretty easy for Corki to also get down pretty much his full combo. And one rotation of the full combo from the Corki onto any squishy, it's pretty much more than half of the health bar. So it's an effective way.
Tattoo again, dropping an early Cataclysm, but has got the CC to follow it up right now. Bookie and
That's so good.
Of being assaulted. Top Lot finds an ult and a couple of stuns. Snaker can get the damage down. The TP in from Devis is here. IU is still trying to get into this play. Furia building a bit of distance between them and Leviathan. Easier said than done. Bookie ults in. The Anivia wall slows them down. Excellent disengage by Furia. And they're the ones who find the kill to open up this play. If they can find a 4v5, maybe there's a Baron reward for them after.
Yeah, really good setup they are finding there, and this really goes to show the value that you can have with the Anivia support. Even though it's not in the mid lane, you get more out of your wall, you get more of your out of your slow, and the double stun as well came in massively there. They are able to blow out the Rise even before the Bard ultimate comes through, and is able to set up the rest of the team so that even though the teleport is coming in from Devas, they can just disengage and find a better opportunity there. If I'm not wrong, the one that gets the kill there, it's Toots, so setting up your Akali for more gold is always going to be massive. I think one kill going to you probably would have been great, but you can see the setup. Double stun into the Ambessa ultimate as well, and then the execution, sorry, from the Akali able to find enough damage there to be able to run away. And then the wall to separate themselves, we don't see it in the replay, but after the Pantheon ultimate comes through, the wall to separate and be able to run away, really, really important. It's a small pick, but it's a pick that keeps them really close in the game. The gold lead is really not that big when you look at the grand scheme of things. And really, it's just how Furia find the right picks and the right place to really set themselves up. It's how they can play with this Ezreal as much as possible, and how much can they find in space so that they can lock down a target, kill it, and have numbers advantage in a fight.
Ego is going to drop some ward on Enga. Unfortunate timing there. The other recall beside him completed. And Tatu and Gigu now can find the kill just before the Realm Warp gets him to safety. A second pick onto Enga's Rise, and Furia continue to stall out this mid game.
Yeah, really good couple of picks there. I think this one in particular much more important. Oh, perfect cancel there. They are coming on the back.
On the wrong side of the wall. IU are shifting forward there. The follow-up from Tatu, and now the jungler from Leviathan
wait,
on the jumping block. But Devis makes the counter kill onto Tatu happen. Bardo only clips onto one. Devis holding the front line down for Leviathan as Furia with control of this play for the time being. Tatu not surviving there is a big shame for them as Furia now pushing for more. They've got the mid lane turret down. Devis tanky as he is. Can he survive? Tatu gets the safety just about with the Zonyas to keep him alive as Snaker now dropping low on the front line. IU is relentless on this Ezreal.
Nobody there.
They'll find no more kills, but they won that fight.
3 members just running away with very low health bars. Devast is so big, he's taking so long to kill and has so much ways of just disrupting the fight so that he's able to escape. But even though Furia doesn't find multiple kills, they close out the gold lead pretty effectively. They find a turret in the mid lane, and you can see here Jojo canceling the point and click CC from Buki there. Perfect timing on the wall. They do lose this ability for the remainder of the fight, but even though they find Tattoo back in this play, they have the numbers advantage thanks to what happened before with Enga, and are able to keep on pushing on this play. There's a lot of things that could have happened here that could have net them a kill if this wall connects, if they are able to find a little bit more of an angle. Tots may have died as well with the Sonjas, and now it's a dragon fight. There's a lot of small details that could have enabled the side of Furia, but also Leviathan. So it really could go either way at this point for a fight, and it looks like we're going to get a dragon fight as well.
Gold basically exactly even right now as Furia. They've backed away from the pit for the time being. 10 seconds until the spawn. We'll see if they want to mount a different approach right now. Leviathan with all the vision control they need around the jungle walls to keep them appraised of Furia's potential approach. Dragon spawns. Enga starts it up, and Leviathan rotate their way down. We've got Ego below them. The rest of Furia coming through the jungle. Io still rotating from that mid wave.
Coming in on the back.
Tuts looking for the flag. Enga already found the dragon now. 3 stacked up for Leviathan. They got the ult onto Jojo. The Anivia can hold a little bit of this down. He's got the passive steal into the backline.
Snaker's dead.
The members of Furia, but they need to get the kills they want. Tuts eliminates the Corki.
Top is dead as well.
Knocked down by Gigo. Can they have the damage to push it through? Furia, IU now firing on these last frontliners. Enga and Devis, the solo laners, holding it down for Leviathan once again. But IU still shifting forward. Gigo flashes in. They're looking for Rise. The Actualizer does so much first, but IU has enough to clean it up, and now Devis, the last Leviathan member alive. They walk away with the Drake, but it's another team fight narrowly won by Furia.
There was so many things happening in that fight, but crucially there, it's Bard Ultimate only catching the Anivia, so enabling everyone else to move around. I think the idea to try and burn down the dragon as quickly as possible so that you can continue into the fight was a good idea by Leviathan. They get the 3rd dragon now in their favor, so they are one step closer to that soul, which is going to be really ideal for them. But the way that the remainder of the fight played out, it's the way that I think Furia has to play pretty much every fight, because they were coming in on multiple sides, trying to lock down targets. It's funny because if you see the replay, if we get the replay, Tattoo was just walking forward without fearing anything to get on top of Snaker. Not really force the player on the Flag and Dragon or anything. He was just walking so that he could get the vision, get the Cataclysm down, force the Valkyrie out, and then follow up from Toots. It's a really funny play that I'm sad we don't get the replay there, but that pretty much enables the rest of the fight to go Furious way, because when you take down the AD carry that easily, it's IU pretty much just free firing onto anyone, and he has been having a great game. He has been birdie touched, he has a lot of space, a lot of mobility, and having so much agency to be able to just throw auto attacks consistently makes him such a danger. he is also going to take long to be able to take down Devas. So I think if Furia wants to win a pretty big team fight, they do need to have an extra member to take down Devas with IU. But in general, he can kill anyone. And it's very difficult to try and control IU in these games unless you have the point and click from the Pantheon or the Rise point and click CC as well.
You can see huge damage numbers being put out by IU already. It's the Ezreal Classic, but he has really been leading the charge for Furia in these fights. As you say, he knows when to shift forward. He's not being pressured by Leviathan in these plays. They're trying to pick off different targets. It's giving IU free reign in these team fights. Well, that blue ward just outside of the pink vision range right there is going to give Leviathan just a tad more information. I think Jojo will spot it with his sweeper, but it looks like Furia are not looking to start up the Baron blind. Maybe to place a vision trap instead.
Yeah, not yet starting the Baron buff. There is a slight gap in the vision where then when you have it there in that position where you can try and force the Baron buff, but it seems like they were clearing it out. They just want to have complete control. One thing that I really liked from Leviathan in the previous plays was their vision control was quite good. They controlled a lot of the angles where the Akali and the Ambessa could come from, and it gave them a lot of openings to try and play around as a team much better. That being said, now without the vision control, you have to be extra careful about how you approach any objective, because this is one of the things that I was trying to lay out with Furia's composition. Anivia, when you're walking in blind, is such a great champion because it enables her stun, her slow, and her wall even more than before. So that's why you have to be extra careful about it. But here, coming in as team, they just clear out the vision and now have the first move into the Baron buff. It's really a game of tit for tat in terms of this objective control, timings, and then also when they are going to pull the trigger for them.
Furia onto a small kind of reset period right now, pulling backs off, getting more items on deck. They now possess a small gold lead of their own, but they still have a potential soul. Now they're the ones in a position to need to deny a 4-stacked Hextech soul for Leviathan that could get them right back into this game, as they have somewhat lost control of it over the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes. Furia consistently winning in team fights on fine margins, but they're coming away ahead. They're managing to get more and more map control back in their favor, despite the fact that we've already kind of left the Ezreal's peak spike in the past. We're well past the mid game for him. Akali still has room to grow, but Jarvan as well is not building any more damage at this point in the game. So Furia have managed to get through into this later stage without seeming to lose any steam whatsoever. And Leviathan are the ones struggling at this later point. This has always been a little bit of the bane for them. The late game decision making, the tough calls you have to make that separates the good teams from the great, have not quite been in place for this Leviathan roster yet.
And it would be really unlucky if they ended up losing this game off of a late game team fight decision, right? Because I feel like their game so far has been quite good. Like, this is a game that I was not expecting at all out of Leviathan, and the way that they've been playing it out has been so good so far. Obviously, a couple of mistakes here and there, but in general, the idea that they've been going for has been great. So hopefully they can try and close it out. Oh, flash forced out of Yojo.
Jojo gets away. IU throws the ultimate across the front line of Leviathan. Devas soaking up damage easily enough as a level 20 Cassante. He is a very tough cookie to knock down. Tut's threatening anger on the flank. Gets rooted up, though. Has to go into the Shroud, but won't be caught for now. Leviathan holding the line, not turning onto the dragon just yet. It is spawned and ready to go, but Furia are struggling to hold Lev back.
Tots now is getting tagged by the Rise, so it means that it's going to be difficult for him to fight a flying angle. Gonna maybe try and go reset and teleport back. I'm not sure if the Rise is able to check that. He actually just canceling it. But here's the thing, the poke and the control that Furia has just makes it really difficult for the side of Leviathan to try and walk in. And the engage there, Pantheon.
Jojo isolated. Gigo actually is the one that gets attacked right there. Flashes away. Tuts is going to find Enga on the flank. The mid laner's fighting away. Akali looks to the execute. Can't
Tuts is about to die.
Enga wins it. Flashes in. Tuts is going to get picked off out of the Zhonya's. First kill of the fight for Leviathan. But Ayu and Gigo still comfortable. Leviathan top up and Enga.
Wait, Dragon is going to die though.
Double knockup, but he's ceded control of the Hextech Soul for this. Tatu flies over, but it's Soul for Leviathan. They're now running for the hills as they're not winning the fight. Neves goes all out, but Gigo's strong enough to take him down in the 1 versus 1. Even if it takes a little while. Tatu finds the target. Snaker walled away by Anivia. Devas is still scrapping away, but the J4 finds the last bit of damage. Ayu now onto Bucky. Has gotten on top of it. The stun is there, but a shield is ready for the Ezreal. Jojo picks up another kill and Soul for Leviathan, but Baron is open for Furia.
Yeah, and the dragon fight just complete messiness all around. There was no one that you can keep your eyes on because everyone was fighting pretty much. Dragon does go the way of Leviathan, so it's going to be the soul hextech soul completed for them, but it's going to be Baron buff now for Furia, and it's going to be on what can they accomplish on the small margin of time that they will be able to have before they will be going for that Elder Dragon. Because I don't think they close out the game with this Baron buff. There's too much that they need to take down still. There's 2 turrets left, 2 tier 2 turrets. There's the base completely untouched so far. So it's going to be difficult to be able to go into it. But you can see the fight here. It was a lot of poking, but it's a Grand Starfall that starts everything. I'm surprised they don't commit more onto Jojo, considering that he has no flash. And then on the side, Enga killing Tots. Tots took so much damage, Birdie able to kill Enga. And when this is happening, you see on the other side there, they weren't fighting that much on the other front. And instead is what happens with Toblop and Enga. The fact that they take so long to die means that the commitment from Tattoo in that position gives the dragon away. I'm not sure if it was needed for him to actually commit all of that to go for the kill, especially with the dragon still alive, but they decided that they valued more the kills over the objective, and they thought that the kills were going to net them a better objective. So we have to see how they turn that into a Baron buff. But the remaining of the fight, pretty easy, pretty consistent for Furia, and getting a lot of damage down.
I don't remember if you can smite the dragon like while you're portaling over it. If you can, Tatu was maybe going for just the maximum style outplay, as Enga's going to get caught up by Giga right now. He's going to find that top lane turret, but Lucky flying in for the assist as well. And Bessa now on a 1v2, and Enga uses the Zhonya's to buy himself a little bit of time. Ego caught in a 2v1 he didn't want and goes down. That's one Baron buff off the table, and Furia just don't have enough people to keep that bot lane push going. Tatu, in fact, looks for top side. Is he going to be able to cancel? He does with the Cataclysm. Bucky has been caught out. Eventually, he's going to go down right here. There's no assistance for him.
I think he should be able to. Oh no, he has an ulti actually. Yeah, he should die here pretty comfortably. But taking out one of the Baron buffs really good for the side of Leviathan anyway, because that's one of the split pushing ones that you know that is going to try and put a lot of attention on the side lane. And it's not like Furia found a lot out of that play on the bot side. Didn't get the tier 3 inside of the base. Weren't able to push the issue much more. So all in all, for Leviathan, it's actually quite nice to be able to see to put a stop them. Oh, dudes.
He's kind of on his own right now. He's put a lot of distance in between them. He is on the wrong side of the map. Bardol won't connect. Jojo is rotating over to get him away out, so he should be able to be fine. Bardol used to no effect, and Lunaday in chat has confirmed that you can't use the smite while you're in the portal. I think I was thinking of like Zac,
like the Zac interaction.
Yeah, but so I mean that would be pretty crazy if you could do it with the portal. So Tatu basically did just say, I have opted to win the team fight in exchange for the Hex Tech because we get Baron after it. I think is the trade that you're going with there. There's realistically no way he's going to be able to drop the Cataclysm and get back into the play, round the wall to then get Smite off. So it is a gamble that they've opted for here. We'll see if it pays off for them. They're continuing to build that gold lead, not massively though. Devas. And this pick might be the way to open the door. Devas with all 4 members of Furia waiting for him in the brush. Killing spree for Ayu, and Furia, the Baron buff has just ticked off. Can they do anything more with this pick?
Is it bad for me to have thought that Devas had a slight chance for survival there? Like, it's 4 members, you get to see it, and I still think that there was a slight chance that Cassandra will survive.
Like he probably gets out of this.
I've been surprised by other things at this point. Oh wait, Tattoo wants to commit.
Cataclysm flash away. Enga does have to flash out though, as the Jojo stun was threatening. It's given room for Furia to take down this turret, so they are turning the Cassante pick into an inhibitor. They find the ult onto top lop as well. Gigo diving deep for this one. They're gonna get enough damage down. The Bard
just a little
barely keeps him alive. Furia gonna have to wait to secure it. Ai with a timely Mystic shot gets that kill. Gigo now trying to match up with Enga, who remember has no flash. He just lost it. Goes into Zhonya's though. Tuts is deep, pushing Snaker back. They get the knock up onto Rise. Furia, they're looking a little bit worse for wear, but Ayu still full HP, holding Snaker and Bucky back onto the fountain, but Devas is up in 3 seconds. Furia know he's coming. They'll pick up one more turret, but they cannot stay to try and end.
Yeah, at this point, they will take what they can and then run away. They are committed to trying to force some of these fights, and they're working out in ways that I was... Oh, wait, Devas, are you sure you want to go alone there?
Ooh, lovely predict by Jojo. Gives him an option to cover the path from out of the portal, the choice of positioning. Don't have the damage to commit to more though, so Furia. They've opted for that gamble, right? The ditch soul, get Baron, and they have kept themselves on the front foot consistently ever since that point. If at any point they lose the momentum, right, and they have to give back a bit of map control, Leviathan are then sitting there 41 minutes in with Hextech Soul, and they're feeling pretty good. But as long as Furia can keep pushing and knocking them off balance, they might be able to just run this all the way to the win.
Yeah, it really feels like it's just a little bit that they need to be able to take much more out of Leviathan, and it's a scary prospect out of that. Now they are going to try and get control here because now 10 seconds away from the Elder Dragon, and that's a much stronger objective than having the Hextech Soul, and they are controlling this side completely. There's no vision they have. Pantheon, actually Bard.
Ego looking for an option to go in right here. Committee's into 5 members, and Tatu as well. Devas has to go all out, is dropping low. Snaker is already miles away. The triple Cataclysm locks 3 members of left down. Enga struggling on the front line. IU still free firing.
They are finding the kill.
Tatsi finds the executions.
No way.
For Tatsi's looking for more. IU picks up the last, and Tatu completes the ace. Furia, they withstand the Leviathan onslaught, and they make play after play to grab this game back, and they'll take the first game in the series.
Yeah, no way that ended up like that. And it's unlucky for Leviathan. I think they played a really good game, but it's these decisions at the end of the game that have always cost them. And in reality, I think the idea of trying to go for the river, trying to get the control, and the area that you're going to try and fight for this Elder makes sense. But with how much space that at this point Furia had in their favor, it just felt like it was going to be close to impossible to be able to fight back. Really good engage, and really touching on the point that we were making at the start of the game, right? The angles that Furia needed pretty much all game long to be able to fight were found most of the time. Wego and Tuts found really good flank angles consistently and able to find crucial targets, able to get on top of Snaker, able to get on top of Enga, and not giving enough room to be able to force the engage. I think this time around, for what they were needing, Bard was too much used as an initializer or an initiating champion instead of being the one that kind of hold the line between the two of those things. Because the Pantheon, I think, should have been the more proactive one. He had a Guardian Angel. He could dive in and die in the process. And if you have Tempered Fate, you can kind of play away from that. But I think a little bit too much indecision, too much wanting to force the issue at that point, and Furia just responded better.
Yeah, they made that risky choice in the late game, the trade of objectives that just gave them that little bit of control to get the Baron to keep the waves and give themselves jungle control. They use the jungle control to find the pick onto Devas. They use the pick onto Devas to crack the inhibs. They use the inhib pressure to, it all just kind of goes one to the other. And if they lost control of that passage of play at any point, I think Leviathan definitely had a chance to play it out. But yeah, Snaker always pressured out of the play. Devas doing all he could, right? Try and hold down the front line, trying to do what he can for peeling. It was a great game from the top laner once again. But sadly, it's just not enough for Leviathan and Furia. They're just so willing to commit to these kind of structured gambles that feel like, well, we should just try and flip for the Hextech Soul instead. But they know, let's give this up for that because we know what we can do then. And it's those kind of plays, those confidence plays you just don't really see from many other teams. It's kind of a superpower that Furia has. Sometimes it gets them into bad positions, but other times it can claw them out of a game that looked pretty damn lost from the first 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that that's one of the things that actually make them more scary to go against. Like, when considering in the grand scheme of things, right? Furia is one of those teams that you don't want to go against. And it reminds me, not to the close to the same level, but I think in a similar idea to what they did to what G2 in 2019 do. It's not like, and I'm not comparing like their skill levels, but one of the things that I always remember from that
World
team.
Finals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But one of the things that I always remember from that team is they were willing to go for a bet, even if the odds were 60-40. But they were willing to go for that. And that makes them really bothersome and scary to go against, because that means that any game can go either way at any point, because they are not unwilling to go for that extra bit. And I think that's also why they were successful going into the America's Cup, right? Where they were the more willing team to go for multiple plays, even in bad positions, even when behind. And that gives them an edge over teams that are more on the controlled side, on the, we play this game here. And that's a strength that I like from Furia. I hope that they can keep on getting stronger from that. I want them to improve on their early stages as well, because even though they are great laning wise, they are not a team that builds on their leads on the early stages. And what I mean by that is that they are not structuring the way that they find those leads. They find those leads by virtue of being better. But I want them to actually make the smart moves to want to get those leads, because if they just improve on that, I think they would be a much, much stronger team.
Yeah, they've got the harder part, the rarer part down. That ability to play, to find those opportunities, create sort of
Yeah.
unusual chances. That yeah, this is like it's like comparing G2 International versus TSM International, right? One of them
Yep.
has been far more successful, despite the fact that you could argue, certainly at certain eras, that the individual player skill was comparable, the team's dominance domestically was comparable. But
Yeah.
G2 has always done better because they've been able to play in that way. And that's why we saw Furia almost overcome them at MSI last year. That's why we saw them dominate the America's Cup. You're absolutely right. So that is what we see out of Furia. This is their superpower. If they can clean up the early game, like they sometimes do, weirdly, sometimes they just kind of nail it, and other times they completely blow it out. And yeah, so it's hard to tell how much what their early game skill really is, if they're inconsistent or if they're lucky. It's hard to really say, but if they can clean that up, they will certainly, I think, be returning to the top of the mountain here at the CBLOL. And of course, remember everybody, it's only top 2 that you need in this split. Top 2 now going to MSI. We have an extra slot to play for, so Furia don't have to, lose to Red in the losers finals again and not make it. They will have a chance potentially to make that into the top 2 spot. For now, let's go to a break. We'll be back with game number 2 before you know it. We've yapped quite a lot between games, so it probably won't be a long break. And we'll see you back here for Leviathan versus Furia game 2. Welcome back, everybody, to the CBLOL English. Now, the second draft is already underway, so we're going to swap our way over to that just now and get caught up. Now, first game, Furia managed to pull the win out, but Leviathan put together a very strong early and mid game and sort of had the game slip out of their grasp as it went on. Furia making some very good clutch decision making. Now, Furia have the first pick, though they are on the red side. The bans are basically the same. Lev still banning away the Ashe to remove that Ashe Seraphine threat from Furia that has become so terrifying. And then Furia instead focusing on a spread of Varus, Nautilus, Nocturne, and they lock the Nami as their first pick.
Yeah, a little bit more mixed up in terms of what they're banning away. I think more consistently coming from the side of Leviathan. And here now having the first pick going for that Nami. I'm not surprised that we're seeing a little bit more focus towards giving the early power to Buki. I think he played a really good first game. Maybe a couple of plays could have been a little bit more forced. I think they should have forced more between Buki and Enga, having that 2v2 point and click CC power that they had, but they didn't commit much onto it. But I think Buki had a pretty good first game, and having that Xin Zhao focus for him can work out really nicely. Now, the answer for Furia, maybe giving a lot more power to Ayu early on, giving a more priority lane towards him, because the Ezreal, realistically, even though he did great, Ezreal is not a lane dominant champion, right? Like, it's more so you survive, you get your advantage, and then you can play around it. So this time around, maybe giving more power towards Ayu with the Caitlyn, Nami, and having him be the strongest point, probably with the idea of him just carrying the game later on, which I think for an adaptation for Furia probably is smarter.
I think I loved the last IU Caitlyn game we saw in this split one. It was absolutely phenomenal. He was playing it much the same way as the Ezreal, somehow always out of reach, but also always on the front line. It was very tough for the opponents to deal with him in that game. We've got the Tattoo Skarner Classic locked in as well. The Caitlyn Nami down bot side. Now, the Jhin Nico is the choice. Great CC combinations, great burst from this 2v2 pairing, and a lot of range from both sides. So could be quite explosive if either side is able to catch the other one with some of that CC chain combo. Obviously, Nami bubble into Caitlyn trap versus Nico roots into Jhin W, so that there's plenty of options there to play for.
Yeah, it does mean, though, that for Leviathan, they do need to get a mid laner that has more damage, or a top laner that has more damage, because Jhin is more of the one that closes out on the kills, not the one that gets the consistent damage out. And I think a lot of the focus will be on banning out some of those champions, maybe take away potentially an Ahri actually from Enga to have the follow-up from Devas could be something to look into. Jace, not a bad option to try and ban away. I do think also top lane tanks to just give more space for the scaling is not a bad idea to try and ban away. The Sion could be one of those choices that Guigo opts into, and it can just set you up really nicely. Or even the Gnar, just a consistent balance pick between both having pressure and also having the tankiness. But it is a Sion, and I think a mid lane ban here probably would make the most sense for Furia.
Yeah, you can kind of see the two different approaches to top lane bans here, right? Leviathan banning away Ornn and Sion, banning tank line, kind of absorbing weak side top laners, and then Furia are banning carries. They're banning lane dominance, they're banning Jace and Rumble. So they can expect the approach. Devas does like to play to win the 1v1 Gigo, can do so, but can also happily just play something a little bit more facilitatory, a bit more supportive, and just kind of absorb that lane. Now, the Renekton has been locked in for Devas blind. We are starting to see this come in a little bit more often, and we'll see what the choice for Gigo is going to be, given that there is no Cassante and there's no tanks available for him. So we'll see what the choice is going to be there. Looks like it might actually just be the Gnar, as you'd kind of mentioned, the last premium top laner available. There's no Jace to counter it. Now, the Renekton's still a little bit dangerous for him, but if Gigo has the spacing down, he can sort of make room around Devas, bait in the slice and dice, maybe hop away, and then win the trades.
Yeah, you can always get just point and click CC down as mini Gnar and then just get killed pretty quickly. I was thinking maybe a Mundo flex here could have been great, because Mundo can be played both in jungle and top lane. And I've seen over in the NACL, wanted to shout it out right now, Skarner played as well in the top lane, so it could have been a fun experiment to try and see from Furia. Instead, they opt for the more classic save options with the Gnar and the Victor. Not against the idea there. And I think the Syndra here to close out on the damage, having more damage in general, apart from also like execution potential onto the Caitlyn, not a bad choice if they opt into it. Obviously, there could have been other choices maybe with if the Arena was available, but I think the Syndra for what it's remaining, maybe the Asir as well, could be the other one to look into. But the Syndra just feels like probably the better one. They are opting into
Well,
this here, though.
there you go. They have gone for it. The two choices you suggested, Leviathan, like both of them, and they're going to lock in the
Yep.
Azir. So we have a little bit more range on the side. Well, kind of both of them actually have decent range to play with, right? Azir, Jin, Nico versus Caitlyn, Victor. Even the Gnar with the boomerangs trying to play for space does have a little bit of range to offer. So a lot of poke can come out if one person gets caught, especially from Lev. They have a beautiful CC chain to offer. Jin, Nico, Renekton stun to follow up, right? And then Furia, they've got a bit more zone control with the Caitlyn traps, Nami wave, the Victor, the Gravity Well in there. So there is kind of two sort of clashing approaches to the long range composition. Furia with a lot of classic, confident team fighters for themselves. The Victor is a common one for Tuts. I use Caitlyn, as you said, very, very much in favor of the Skarner for Tattoo. And then for the side of Leviathan, we're going to see what they can do here. Well, they don't have as much, they don't have the same global threat. They don't have as much sort of pick and burst potential outside of the bot lane. And we'll see if their early game can impress as much as it did in that first game.
Yeah, it's going to be important to see how they play these early stages. And I think particularly for Leviathan, I would like to see them being even more active early on, because in the previous game, we saw movements happen, but we never really saw them getting something of more value, right? Like there was an idea, but there was no execution to follow that idea. And I want to see more coming into this game, because importantly, you want to try and shut down that Caitlyn early on. Because if the Caitlyn gets shut down early on, you have pretty much no actual way of playing the game until like, what, 30 minutes? Until Caitlyn comes back from her power drop. So it's important to see how they are going to pilot that. And I want to see a lot of focus towards spots. Like the first 3 minutes, maybe deciding or define how the game works out and how the side of Furia and Leviathan end up going forward. So hopeful to see a lot from Buki this game.
Yes, absolutely, right? We know Bookie's aggressive. We know he loves to invade. We know he loves to try and dictate the pace, and it's kind of up to his opponent to manage what Bookie is throwing at them. Now, Tattoo, with the Skarner, of course, it's a surprisingly strong trading the Skarner, despite the tankiness of it early on. It does have those interesting gank paths. We didn't see Tattoo find a whole lot of success on the ganks in that early game. Perhaps it will be a different story with the Skarner. The early vision, spotting out Bookie, who drops a ward of his own, I believe. So they will have a little bit of information as to the approach both junglers are taking, and we'll see where the explosivity starts to come through in this game. Again, I'm expecting maybe Devas potentially threatening solo kills, as he so often does on the Renekton, and then this bot lane, depending on who finds that first bit of CC, that first catch, will likely go for the one-shot attempt.
Well, with the way that they are already positioned, right? With bot lane being the main focus or the main start here for Tattoo, and in comparison for Buki starting over on the top side, it may be just going towards who can get their lanes ahead in a better spot. It looks like it's going to be bot lane focus coming in for the side of Leviathan. One thing that I do want to mention with both of these compositions before we actually get into that point of the game is that for all the CC that both sides do have, with Tidal Wave, with Skarner Ultimate, Nico Ultimate, and also the Emperor's Divide and the like, there's no like actual easy to pull or to follow commitment from either side. Like there's no point and click ultimate to follow on, or any way to really get on top of anyone, like a hook or an ultimate that really gets you on top of anyone. Like a lot of the commitment on this game is going to be going forward. The Nico has to commit, the Skarner has to commit, and if they fail their engage, they pretty much can lose a team fight. So it's going to be fun seeing who can get the better out of each other's engage and how they are going to make it work out.
Ego being pushed back to the tower for the time being, has gone mega trading comfortably with Devast, as we see Ayu and Jojo trying to use that space control there. They're down in minions though. Snaker and Toplop going to step up. Nice sidestep though on the Deadly Flourish for Ayu. Has used his Ghost, absolutely right. So a summoner burned for that attempt.
Yeah, trading summoners, not necessarily a bad thing for either side, although it is an advantage for Leviathan that just uses the heal for Ghost and heal. All in all, really good. And the early start of the lane for Leviathan, much better compared to the previous game when you think about it. It was Furia controlling the early stages, getting the better out of the poke, and pushing the wave much more compared to what is happening right now. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Nico always gives you just that extra bit of push, thanks to the fact that she's essentially a mage. So you're able to just keep the Caitlyn a little bit more control in this spot. It's gonna get better for the Caitlyn eventually, obviously with the damage that she gets early on. But in general, it's nice to see Leviathan finally having some sort of agency down here in the bot side.
Yeah, and the addition of that sort of the Stormrazor build path has definitely given Caitlyn less of a time to suffer kind of into that 2-item trough that used to be the
Yeah.
case for this champion in past seasons. She has a much smoother curve to work with now. It's still not ideal, but it is definitely better than it used to be. And yeah, the 1-item spike is definitely
Yep.
solid for her too. Jojo and I happily holding the wave kind of close to the front of their tower right now. Tattoo's heading out onto the bot side, though will be spotted on a deep blue ward by Leviathan. So they'll be aware there's a potential threat coming their way. Ayu, though, knows he has the Skarner in the back pocket, steps up aggressively and trades heavily, lands all the skill shots. Top Up and Snaker both knocked down below half.
Yeah, one of those things where they are forcing to try and not only push them away, but also set up potentially if they want to greed a little bit more and then stay longer, it enables Tattoo to try and calm down there. It's easy to try and set up ganks onto squishies because if you lock one down, usually you have enough damage to be able to take them down. It doesn't look like they are going to try and set up anything just yet, maybe waiting a little bit more onto the Skarner getting that level 6 power spike, which is not a bad thing to try and play around. But once again, it feels like it's going to be a slow early game in terms of what the junglers are looking for. They are just going to wait for maybe a little bit more power before they actually begin committing into more plays. Also, a difference in this second game compared to the first one, Enga getting really pushed consistently. He's really down in CS compared to Tots.
Yeah, Tattoo slides into the mid lane to try and threaten, but will
Okay.
only find Bookie ready and waiting. So yeah, Tut's having a much better time in the lane in this first game right now. 15 CS up, in fact, pushing this wave into Crash It. And this is a lot more like the usual Furia early game, where the passive advantages start to accrue from minute one. And Leviathan, kind of Bookie largely, right? I'm expecting to see him try and do something to assuage this. He's right now in mid lane. Jojo's ready to cover as well, as Tuts is still moving very aggressively. Toplop cannot find the E-stun to catch onto him, but a lovely trade back from the Nico at least sheds Tuts of some of that HP.
Yeah, the Nico, they're saving a little bit more into Enga in the sense that with this, they're able to give them more space, able to farm safely under turret, and at the very least be able to back comfortably at that in this spot. But for what Tots has been able to do, really good early game so far, a lot of control that he's able to provide, and this gives a lot of room for Tattoo to get not only two pushing lanes in the top lane and mid lane, and bot lane as well, but it gives them a space now to also have control in the jungle. So a bit more opportunity to get level 6, to have that ultimate now in his pocket as soon as he gets it, and have more agency to try and go for plays inside of the lanes, as they're starting the dragon here, but they have more control, so they can put a stop to this pretty comfortably.
Jojo spots him out, but might be in a little bit of a bother here. Bookie going aggressive.
It's
The
a flash
flash in
there.
from Toplop to get the root as well. They don't have the burst. Snaker not quite in range, and Jojo, with a flash and a heal of his own, will get back to the turret. Not feeling too healthy, but they've stopped the dragon attempt.
Yeah, flash for flash, heal also used, but it's a stop onto the dragon, and it gives a space for now Tattoo to come down here, get the control of the dragon himself, and look for a play if he wants to, or just get the dragon. There is no vision here to know if Tattoo is doing this, but you can assume it by just knowing that you're low, you don't know where the enemy jungler is, and the space is completely in your favor. Now they will know, but it's pretty much a free dragon for the side of Fury after that initial skirmish.
That's it. Working on this Drake right now. Ayu and Jojo rotating over. It will be the first Hex Tech picked up with no contest for Furia as the gold lead continues to tick up in their favor. Bookie instead heading onto this top side. Still over a minute before the grubs will spawn though. No counterplay really available. Leviathan at this time. We're managing to hit level 6s now in the solo lanes, jungle positions as well. So some of the playmaking for Leviathan is starting to come online, and we do need to see them kind of find a little bit of it, especially from, players like Devas who have been able to find it in the past. We need to see them find some way to get control of this early game back. Otherwise, Furia are going to be in a perfect position. Going into the next stage of the game, Enga. This is a flash from Tut, slides over the wall with a shuffle, but doesn't find the target yet.
Oh, it's a flash there.
Over the 1 versus 2. Crescent
Oh, it's
guard.
enough.
Not enough damage. Tuts escapes barely. The calculations for Leviathan not quite on point as Tattoo now rotating into look what he can. He has a slow. Does he have an impale? Enga is going to have to try and slide to safety if he wants to. Tattoo tries to hold the ult. Doesn't even drop it, in fact. Expects Enga to just slide away. So Furia keep the mid laner alive. They won't find a counter kill.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe he was expecting that if he throws the impale out, there was gonna be a flash from Enga to try and escape it, which makes the most sense. And maybe he was just trying to get the most damage out, so that even if he flashes out at that time, there was not going to be enough time to escape there. So really close, really nice reaction by Tots. Really lucky that he doesn't die to the damage from
Yeah.
the Xinjiao there. And it was a flash committed by Buki. So all in all, it's a 1-for-1 in terms of flashes. You escape with your life and are able to force a little bit in the favor of Furia. He will be down a flash, and for a Victor, not having your flash almost always means that if in the next time that there's an Emperor's Divide available, Enga can just set up a kill for Buki. But in general, really nice play, and ooh, wait, Jojo should be fine. Good bubble.
Yeah, he's away from there. All good for Jojo's going to step away safely. Skigo continues to perform very well in this 1v1. It's a much different story from game number one. Gives Tattoo plenty of coverage to work on these grubs. Will pick them up potentially without contest as well. Bookie's channeling the recall on the bot side of the river. So Furia, the plays are in their favor. The objectives, the gold. It is an even more successful looking game for them. And game number one. And Leviathan do not play the best from behind historically. So we'll see if they can try and buck that trend. One grub was left behind, as Tattoo has the two already, doesn't need to stick around for more.
Yeah, giving him the opportunity to get 2 instead of the 3, that's still a good advantage that they are able to get. And interestingly enough, like you're mentioning, the fact that Gigo is this far ahead, able to control so much of the lane, and also the fact that Tattoo is hovering so much top lane. Like, we've seen him a couple of times, obviously. Oh, wait.
Ooh, big burst right
that's
there.
a lot.
Drops down to half, and now in comes the curtain call. Jojo took so much damage from that last grenade. And all 4 shots from Snaker land true. Jojo knocked out of it after that pick lands from Leviathan. That's the burst combo they've been looking for.
Yeah, not respecting the potential from top lob to come in as a minion, ends up paying the price with his life, and now are you going to take even longer to be able to back here? And this is the thing, it's been a lot of trading down there on the bot side, but realistically, it's not like the Caitlyn has won a lot of it, nor the Nami has been able to find a lot of angles here to make it more worth for them. And it opens up space for some of these plays to actually come through. It's not like they have a hook or anything like that, but they have ways of making it work out, as we see a fight topside, but it's not going to turn into much. And a lot of the gold that Snaker is going to be able to get here for free is going to be really good for the side of Leviathan. One thing I wanted to mention as well was that for how the game was drafted or how it was set up, it's surprising that we have seen barely any attention towards spot side as we see the replay here.
Yeah, I mean, the burst is that grenade coming onto Jojo. You can see how squishy Nami is early
So
on,
much
right?
damage.
It is. This champ has no defensive options whatsoever. The Jhin, even as low DPS as it is, had the serrated Durkin invoice, now has completed the Youmu's as well, but it's more than enough to take down Jojo. So well played by Snaker. It's actually basically a reverse of game number one gold-wise. It's the top and mid side that are performing better for Furia, and it's the bot lane this time going in the favor of Leviathan after that play. Furia looking for a play onto this Nico right now, throws the Impale, but the drag back is there from Enga with an Emperor's Divide, gets a flash out of the Skarner, and both Leviathan players will get away alive.
I'm surprised Tattoo's taking so long to actually pop the Impale in each occasion when they're going for a gank, because he first tries and gets on top and then follow up with Impale, which it's not necessarily a bad idea. Oh wait,
The ultimate lovely gravity field though from Tots, cutting off the escape route, and Nami away for good measure. And Tots is going to pick up that with the arcane storm right there. Skigo looking for the 1v1. Flash is traded. Devast with the Dominus popped will escape for the time being. Gigo not looking too healthy himself, but Furia looking for some successful plays in that mid and top side. They continue to succeed on that side of the map, while the bot lane struggles. Has not stopped them getting the dragon so far, though. Furia open up onto that second Infernal Drake, as Buki is still dead at the gray screen. Once again, cannot stop them.
Yeah, and the timing for the death from Buki there, really bad, because it does mean that the dragon will go for them for free. Really nice play overall, how they are able to catch Buki in that spot, not able to run away. And even though he did have flash, I think he had flash, I'm not 100% sure if it was just coming back up or if he had it at the time. That's a lot of damage. Enga should be fine, but it's still a good show of how much control Tuts has. But with this dragon, with the control that they have, they can just try and keep the objectives in their favor, even if they are getting pushed a little bit here into their own jungle.
Tattoo and Jojo watching this blue buff pick. Buki with a confident invade, the usual special from him as top lops around the corner. Smite secure by the Xin Zhao. Tatu will not be able to get in there. Gigo threatening under turret, but now Ayu wants to get back to his own tower. There's a lot of left members in the jungle right now. Tatu can rotate, slams into top lap though. Jojo and Ayu with the burst coming down.
Top lap is dead.
And another support gets knocked over, no questions asked. This time it's top lap falling.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if you don't have the ultimate, it's very difficult to actually be able to fight it out as top lap. You don't have a lot of tools to escape. You don't have a lot of tools to give you survivability there. And if you get locked down in that position, it's going to be much easier for someone like this Garner to just get more value out of it. Sad for Furia that it's not Ayu the one that gets the kill, but it's extra gold that at the very least you're able to salvage there. It's going to take a little bit longer now for this Caitlyn to actually become an actual champion. But when you look at the other side of the map, like you were mentioning, great flash there.
Yeah, Enga looking for another shuffle, but it's flashed by Tuts again. Top plop again around the corner. Tuts is doing so much damage. He hadn't even built any AP up to that point. It was just a 2-stack Dark Seal, but now he's completed the Rod of Ages, and he is just 1v2ing in the mid lane. The Furia mid lane are having a great second game, and it's just a bit too much from Leviathan, right? They push too far, do not respect the damage that can come back.
Yeah, great double bubble, by the way, as well there. But it's those things where you know that it's Buki and Top Love the ones that are over there, but because you know that there's no Nico ultimate, that there's nothing that Buki had at the time either to be able to fight it out, it's very easy to just be that to go in and then follow up with your CC. Even without your ultimate, you still have quite a good amount of CC as a Skarner and also survivability thanks to your first item. So overall, nice collapse, nice kill. Enga has to run away here, but there's 3 members coming in on the side.
As the flash burns it, but doesn't get away from the Nami wave though, and the bubble lands from Jojo as well. Not the ideal summon used by Enga, and Ayu picks up his first kill of the game. They'd love to get some more gold onto that Caitlyn and Furia, now with so much confidence in that bot jungle. 1.5k almost in the lead, 2 Drakes, 2 Grubs. It has been all Furia all day in this early game. It's now Snaker trying to crash a wave in bot side. Bookie and Top Lop need to come in and support him. Tatu is threatening. Gets the Impale onto Nico. Drags the ultimate back. Gigo is there for the DPS as Jojo's waiting to see what he can do. They have no carry really for Tatu and the rest of Furia in this play. As the bot lane turret still goes down. And Gigo's about to hit Mega, but Furia seem to be calling off the play.
Yeah, they did lose first turret blood, but in the process, Caitlyn Ayu is just finding a little bit more space here in the mid lane to find gold and get, at the very least, something back in their favor. Yes, the Caitlyn is really far behind, but you want to find some ways for the Caitlyn to find value, and I think that the time that they are able to buy in that spot, especially because nobody died, is still good enough for the side of Furia. Yes, this Jhin is going to be a big threat, and it's something you have to be scared about, especially at this point of the game. 15-minute mark is probably one of the strongest points the Jhin is going to be with lethality and with the second item. So you need to be extra careful about it, but you need to find also go for Ayu in some manner. And the fact that Toots is also able to get a lot of value on the side lane, it's really, really good for the side of Furia. All in all, for how the game is going, Furia is finding really good ways to play this game.
Yeah, they're really managing this one very, very well. Ayu's been rotated into mid lane to keep that farm going. He's got the Hex Optics first item complete, so he's not actually gone for the Storm Razor. He's going Hex Optics into Infinity Edge in that second slot, so his 2-item spike is going to be very, very big. Top Flop still suffering. These lasers from Tuts are doing hella work in this game. As Ayu might be under threat. Buki around the corner. Cannot quite get into range, but again, they get the ghost out of him. Top Flop has to flash away on the other side from a Tatu, who is continuing to chase down heals. But his flash is there. This Skarner damage is just humongous. As Buki now being chased back to the turret. No Impale quite available for the Skarner. 5 seconds left on that timer, but it's still a free kill picked up for Furia.
Yeah, they get an extra one there. They did blow the flash on the Skarner, but this will be the turret collected here in the mid lane, opening up even more space inside of the jungle for them. And Tatu is just finding so many opportunities to find so much damage as Enga needs to be careful here. Actually, wait, Toots.
He's forced to go aggressive by the placing of the gravity well, and Tuts is just nailing this 1v1 again. Nami Bubble came over the top just to make sure. And Tuts continues to dominate his counterpart on this Victor. Gigo now was threatening onto Devas, but Snaker is in the area, and he knows to back off.
Yeah, he knows that there's an extra person there to follow up on the damage from Devas, so it's much better to just try and run away. And it feels like such a big contrast compared to the previous game, not in the fact that Furia played the early game much better, but more so just in the way that it feels like they are just finding much better advantages off of just being stronger and being more decisive in what they are looking for in plays. Because I think Buki is trying to look for plays, but he's not as decisive as the way that Tattoo is when he's committing for some of these plays. He's tankier, but he just knows that he has way more angle or many more angles to try and look for, and he's just finding the better plays in general. Same for what Toots is looking for, Gigo just having more control, and Jojo just provides much more utility than this Nico that feels like it's just an ultimate bot at this point, not really finding anything else apart from that ultimate value, where Jojo just gives you heals, gives you power-ups, and the tidal wave also manages to dissuade a lot of the engages from the enemy team. As wait, Gigo.
See a fight developing around this Herald. Gigo's been caught on the top side.
Mega.
Does go Mega with an ult to shove away the Leviathan members, but the Jin ultimate
dead,
comes
though.
over the top and they'll lock him down. Snaker picks up that first kill, so Leviathan with a 4v5
Wait,
to
top
play.
lock, look at
Looks
that.
for the ultimate, can't find anyone. Gets a flash out of Tuts, the counter wave from Jojo. Tatu looking for a target, killing spree locked up for Tuts as he knocks down Devast, as the rest of Leviathan are fleeing the scene. Impaled though from Tatu, swipes the wall, catches onto top block and chops him down with the pincer. Tuts now diving the Azir turret in topside. The Herald, a forgotten afterthought. Furia, they want blood,
Snaker is
they
dead?
want more kills. Snaker has to flash away, but he cannot escape the Scorpion. Ayu now pushing in the topside, flashes away from the shuffle. 2 more kills. It's just exquisite from Furia in the team fight, even if it's 4v5.
At that point, it was just a highlight show. After winning that fight, even though Gigo dies at the start of it, they committed way too much killing that Gnar. And even though you killed an Gnar, the remaining fight is just very difficult. You see how there's things that are lacking for Leviathan in terms of how they want to approach fights, because without flash, you need setup. And Leviathan didn't really have a setup to force a fight at that point. They had setup to kill Gigo at the start of it because they had the better position. But when the fight finishes, or when this pick finishes, when you kill Gigo, even though you commit too much, there's nothing really for the side of Leviathan to really follow up on to be able to follow on to the kill. You have no Snaker ultimate, no Devast ultimate, and then here, Nico has no flash, so she cannot get on top of the members. The re-engage is much better for the side of Furia, and you have enough damage to be able to follow up on it. This is where Tattoo's advantage and Toot's advantage is just simply way too much to try and play around.
Yeah, you can see that it's just effortless the way they're able to play this out, right? It seems like they're able to push through their plans for the fight without any contest at all. Only Gigo gets, caught out trying to get a bit too close too early, but it takes Leviathan dropping everything they have, apart from the Azir ult, which we saw used right at the end to get that first kill, leaves them with nothing to fight back with. And I am just continually shocked by how much damage this Skarner is doing with 2 health items and armor boots, and he's doing like 400 HP every time he hits this Nico. He's absolutely monstering top club right now, who, as you kind of mentioned, he's basically an alt bot right now. The Nico ultimate with the Proto Belt is really good, but he's not able to get into the right positions. Furia are not walking into chokes. They're not leaving themselves exposed, and it's leaving the value for this Nico very, very low. He does get onto Tuts this time, though, who does not have the flash this time. Do they have enough damage to get him down? Surely they will eventually, but the Herald spawn gives Victor a free ride to safety. And now Enga, who slid in to try and get the kill, leaves himself at the mercy of Tattoo. They try to reposition. They shove back the Skarner. Tuts is now out of the Herald and looking for a way back in. Has to be scared of the Jin. Tattoo as well low. Ayu has been untouched so far. Steps forward to knock over Devast. And the rest of Leviathan now running for the hills as the clean feed explodes, but it's back in now. Leviathan have a turret to get to still. Furia looking for a potential chance to re-engage. Tattoo's low, but he might look for the opportunity. They have a Herald coming in as well. And Leviathan trying to escape, flashing for the Skarner. Doesn't find the skill shot, though. He'll still get away alive as Gigo looks for a mega target but can't find one.
The slow onto Buki, is it enough to be able to follow? And it is enough to be able to get the kill. Oh no.
The Herald charge is going all the way through the base. He's going around the houses up to top lane. We've seen this kind of stuff from Tattoo before. He's not been able to get top lane turret, but Furia keep on pushing bot lane.
They're not able to get more kills, but I don't think they even need more kills here. They won the fight essentially to surviving by a very small margin thanks to that Herald. I didn't even know the range from the Herald was that big where you can click over the wall and still be able to get on top of it, but saves the life of Tots there. And I'm not sure if it was a premeditated play coming in by Tattoo, because he was the one that dropped the Herald there. We can see it here on the side. So he drops the Herald, but was it with the purpose of saving Tots, or was it just a misclick? Look at that range. I'm not sure how that works.
I think they just wanted to play for bot turret, but I think
Yeah.
how does Tutson even get to it from that far away is a bit shocking, but it's just perfect, right? It's the most Furia thing that could have happened, right? They just always
Yep.
find a way to wriggle out of these tight spots.
And it's also, I will argue, a Leviathan play as well as, oh, at live Toots again. He may be
this
dead
time.
here.
He's got Flash, uses it to get away. Can he get away?
Yeah.
Not this time. Enga will be there. The shuffle finally connects, and it takes a little while. Leviathan take a lot of damage for the trouble, but they'll finally get their man in the victor at the cost of mid lane plates as Snaker ulting the mid lane. Ayu is backstepping all the ones he needs to, and only takes one shot, picks up the mid lane inner.
Yeah, they get the turret in the mid lane, they are even pushing on the bot lane, but if at first you don't succeed, you still find the kill onto Tuts after it. There's no Herald this time to save his life, and there needed to be a play for Leviathan, something to find gold. Yes, it's not the most amount of gold, but it's something, because they were really falling behind in terms of what they are able to even accomplish all around the map. They're going to lose souls, so it's going to be even more movement speed for a lot of these members. And luckily, the only ones that really benefit from the soul here would be the Skarner and the Victor. The Nara, the Caitlyn, and the Nami, not necessarily that much. So you have to find some tools in any way. At the very least here for Leviathan, now maybe they can force a fight for the other if they get to that point, and if they win it, they can turn around this game.
Spotted an empty Medjais in Tuts' inventory there. Must have just completed it, converted from the Dark Seal, just to lose all the stacks, dying top lane solo. So unfortunate for the victor there. But we do have 3 items completed for Ayu as well. RFC, Hex Optics, and the Infinity Edge. This Caitlyn is well and truly online and has not been required to do too much so far. It's largely been Tuts and Tatu leading the way with Jojo supporting them, but the Caitlyn is now ready to pick up the slack if needed. And Furia have their damage in place, their front line certainly ready to go as well. Gigo is on his way onto a target, ult back with the Impale. Buki is removed. The Nami wave doesn't find any more, but the extra speed coming through that jungle pathway, Tatu and Gigo looking, hunting for more targets. He is trying to find his way to top lot, gets rooted by Deadly Flush from Snaker. Top lot is still dropping lower and lower. Gigo has managed to get himself into range. Devis now diving for a punish, but Tatu's ready there to drag him back. He can block up the Jhin ultimate shots, as Ayu's just working on the mid lane once again. Tuts and Jojo rotate down, even more damage.
Look at Ayu
into this bot lane play. Ayu's in the base right now. He hasn't even defeated the mid lane turret.
Though. Yeah, he doesn't even care though, because they have so much control that he can just walk forward into the base, and there's barely anything that Leviathan can do at this point. They are trying to take down this mid lane turret, actually just trying to kill Enga maybe in the process, but they are going to take down the objective, get a lot of gold in their favor, and at the end of the day, just open up the base very, very comfortably. They could even try and set up for a Baron with the Caitlyn traps and the control that they have. It's going to be very difficult to even stop them from trying to accomplish it.
Yeah, absolutely. Furia with so much control of these autos.
Oh, Buki, not again.
Are completely annihilating Buki. He drops the Crescent Guard, barely survives anyway.
Top lob
finally finds his way onto Ayu, though. Gets both summoners out of him.
It's
a
not
triple
enough.
Impale from Tatu stalls out the play from Leviathan. Gigo's TP'd in. Tuts is starting to put kills on the board. Ayu has no summoners left. Enga barely doesn't connect the kills.
No, Enga.
A bubble from Jojo stops him getting it over the line. Triple from Tuts, an ace to wrap it up, and Furia are going to run it down mid for the 2-0.
Yeah, a pretty, like, I want to say comfortable 2-0, but in the first game was nothing like the second game. I don't think that it's fair to say comfortable for Furia in that sense, but this second game, they took control from the start to finish. There was some light, some hope with Snaker's initial kill that they got. The initial plays from Leviathan looked nice enough, but there was a point where Tatu was just walking forward, doing enough damage to double up to just completely vaporize the Nico out of this game. And it just never felt like there was enough of a grasp from Leviathan at any point to really turn it around. This felt like the Furia that we know of on this second game, I think with a little bit of help of a lot of the different shortcomings from Leviathan. But I want to try and get the positive side from Leviathan on that first game, because they could have been 1-1.
Yeah. They definitely could have. Potentially even should have been, right? And then I think, yeah, game 2, Furia got everything they wanted. All their plays worked out. The Tatu Skarner is just, it's just unbelievable, right? He does so much work with this pick.
Plays it really well.
Yeah, and Tuts especially as well, right? Managed to just help. He was completely dominating mid lane. Potentially we did need to see the Syndra instead of the Azir in this matchup. Would it have changed things? I don't know, man. Maybe a little bit,
Yeah,
but Tuts just plays the
difficult
Victor
to say.
so well. It's always been a confident pick from him, even before the rework. So that was just, they had such a strong core in mid jungle. Like the Caitlyn Nami pairing in bot lane was working well for them. They did misstep once, right? Snaker and Toplop managed to find a pick there, but that was like the only thing that they found all game, right?
Yeah.
It was just furious start to finish.
Yeah, and it's a weird game to really call here for Fury in the sense that when you look at how it was developing, right? A lot of the game should have been you played for your Caitlyn, you find there the advantages, and then with the Caitlyn, you snowball the game. But it was really Guigo and Toots just controlling the early stages of the game really comfortably, giving space for Tattoo to find a lot of the angles that you were looking for in the Skarner. And they did something that I was trying to call for in the first game consistently for Buki and Enga that they didn't pull off. That is the consistent mid lane ganking or the 2v2s playing around with each other. Tattoo was so much into the mid lane that he committed many times to trying to bully Enga or give space to Toots as much as possible. And it worked out because you have a very strong Victor, you have a lot of space that was barely touched on the other side, and it opened up space for IU as well in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Just loved the way they played that game out. They showed resilience and problem solving in game one, and they just showed dominance in game two, right? The confidence shining through, all the things went their way. And for Leviathan, I think we're not seeing as much effect from Buki right now in this split. We're not seeing him able to influence as much. Now, obviously, going against Tattoo, no one really manages to do much against Tattoo a lot of the time, but like, you know, Drake Hero in the last series managed to get a lot done versus Tattoo. He's not an infallible player, but we're not seeing as much action, I think, from Buki. Devast is certainly still, he's a bit on and off. He certainly still has the highs, but it's a bit less consistent than before. I don't know. I'm struggling to see. Again, the path forward for Leviathan seems so hard to find right now. The development seems to have stalled a little bit, and there's definitely individuals worth taking note of here. But this team roster has less potential, I think. We were discussing this, in the green room before, that in an 8-team league rather than a 10-team league, we all of our top 5, maybe even top 6, depending on VKS's kind of performance on the day, just leaves very few teams that you can like build and practice well against, right? Because it feels like you're just outmatched by everybody. It's just Lev and Fluxu and maybe Pain, I guess, down there that are struggling, but it almost feels worse than it maybe is for Leviathan in an 8-team league.
And it's also really the upside that you're looking for in a roster, right? Because one of the things that you always look into for a roster is how much upside do they have that you're willing to give them time to get to that upside, right? I feel like Furia was one of those rosters where even when, and I'm not 100% remembering right, I'm trying to remember right, but even when they started, it wasn't like that the roster that first brought Tattoo on was infallible. Like they had a lot of shortcomings. They were good, but they weren't necessarily the best. But you could see the upside in that roster where they could get, or what you can try and get from that roster if you give them the time to build up on that roster and get to that point. And with a couple of pieces here and there, they could improve even more. I don't see that with Leviathan. Like it feels like there's a roster that their ceiling is not necessarily super high, and their floor is not necessarily super high either. So it's kind of like you're in a weird spot where you're just waiting to see what happens with this roster. Maybe they can find a couple of wins here and there on the off chance that one team plays badly on a day or something like that. But it's not a roster that I see playing for, I would argue, in a playoff spot. Like I feel like they're a roster that it's playing for 8. Or 8, not sorry, it is an 8-team league. 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's because depending on how Fluxu settles, because Fluxu still has so many problems, but they've got the Cody effect, which is helping them out. Pain, we'll see how Pain look with Carioca back in the jungle, right? That might be, I think that should be a big boon for them, but will it be enough to actually shift the needle in this league, right? Who knows? So yeah, it does feel like Leviathan don't have anywhere to go, really, right, in this split, unless we see some sort of major change. Again, individual players, absolutely. There's a future for certainly some of these guys, but it does feel like a bit of a tough, bit of a dead end in split 1 so far. You know, we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, I don't want to write them off entirely, but ultimately it does seem like we're struggling for a path forward. So for now, We'll go to a break. Congratulations, Furia, on another Swift 2-0. We'll be back after the break with Red versus Pain Gaming, I believe. So don't go over, everybody. We'll see what used to be the classic kind of finals matchup for a period of modern CBLOL. But for now, let's see how these guys will stack up in this best of three. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the CBLOL English second series, ready to get underway. Red Canids versus Pain Gaming, our second underdog matchup of the day. TDS Pain Gaming struggling to put things in order after another kind of attempted shakeup into Split 1. They have brought Carioca back into the jungle today, as we mentioned before. But is it going to be enough to take down Red? They have had a rip-roaring start to this split, especially with Steps coming into the jungle.
Yeah, it's a story of two sides of, I would argue, like a same coin, because it's two storied organizations, but the way that they've gone for it has been really different. One sitting at the top, one sitting right at the bottom, very comfortably down there. And it's kind of funny to see, because I feel like the expectation was going to be a little bit on the opposite side. When we started off, there was a lot of question marks out of Red about how they were going to come in with some of the changes that they pulled off. Obviously, Steps, a quantity that was yet unknown, that had hype, but wasn't really known to what you could expect. And then starting off really, really well here in the CBLOL, I think Red has come in as one of those rosters that, if they can keep this not be just a flash of light out of the start, but instead keep it being something consistent, it's a roster that you have to keep on being really excited about, because I think that they have done so many good things to start it off. And then for Pain, I feel like they always have the angle to try and turn it around, right? Like, it's a storied organization for a reason. They have had bad starts, I think, before. Maybe not to the level of starting 0-2 super early on, but it's not like this is something new to them, in the sense that because of how long they've been here, they have this sort of like rough starts, but they can turn around eventually. And I think for Pain, it's just finding the right mix of players now with Carioca back, that they can try and turn around this rough situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of different elements on this, right? When they've tried to shake this up, they kind of brought in Trigger and locked in Trigger and Curry as a Korean duo to see if that would work. They brought in Sam Case in the jungle to try and bring a new element. They've kept Robo in the top side, who obviously is a very unique element up there. You know, it is a lot of disparate pieces, where for teams like Los, they brought a lot of disparate pieces together and it just clicked. It worked from day one instantly. They've continued to scale into Split 1 very nicely, whereas Pain is the opposite, right? It seems like they're very much less than the sum of their parts, and they're trying to find that right formula. Yeah, and I think the veterancy of Carioca, the way he's able to play facilitator champs, to play for his lanes, but can hopefully give them a bit of a stronger voice, a bit of a better leader in the game, can talk a little bit more, can communicate and drive the team forward. Hopefully that is enough to unlock some more of the potential of this team, because it definitely feels like they've got more to give, and we'd hate to see them, to be honest, just waste another split. The CBLOL Cup was entirely wasted due to factors largely outside of the team's control. They did not manage it super well, and now this time they've tried to respond. It's still not working. They've got a longer split to work at it, but yeah, you don't have forever. And I think this was probably right to make this change. I don't think you want to keep going down the other path too long, because you don't want to just lose position forever.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, if it was working towards the goal of going towards, I would understand for almost any other like organization. But there's organizations that don't have that leeway, right? Like when you're an organization that pretty much represents the history of the CBLOL, like Pain is, right? It's pretty much an organization that if you think of the CBLOL, you think of Pain, you think of, to a certain degree, Red, obviously. You don't have that leeway to get that much time. Like, you need to have results, because people expect that out of you. And if they don't find those sort of results now, there may be a lot of questions going to be asked going forward. And a lot of the fans and people out there will start questioning a lot of the people up there making the decisions as well. So it's important to see how they are going to have an impact now going forward, and how this team is going to click. I think particularly when looking into this matchup, the fact that obviously you bring back Carioca to try and be that voice like you're mentioning, but when he's going against one of the stronger players so far in these first 2 weeks, it's going to be a difficult test. Not saying that Carioca don't have the ability to be able to fight it out, but I feel like it's momentum against consistency, to put it like that, to a certain degree. Like, it's Steps going to be that flash of just brilliance that has been so far for Red, how much he's been able to find for the team, how well he has been going against really strong junglers, and then Carioca, how much is he going to be able to apport to the team, maybe not mechanically wise, but at the very least, how much is he going to provide for the team so that they can fight it out in the later stages of the game, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's Carioca has a very different thing he needs to bring to the Pain roster,
Yeah,
whereas Red, I think Steps, yeah, he's flying at the start of this split. To put at some point, he has to have a bad game, right? Just to put it bluntly, he can't keep putting up numbers like this every single game. It's just not possible. So what
it
happens
should
when
be.
that happens, right? When he
Yeah.
gets stifled early game, when he trips up, when he goes too deep, how does he respond? Now, they have opened up with a Jarvan, 4 steps. We've not seen this from him so far. I think we've seen a Xin, we've seen a Pantheon, we've seen an Aatrox, and I'm not sure if we've seen the Jarvan yet. So again, we'll see another flavor of jungler for him to show us what he can do. And for Red, let's see what they're gonna, or for Pain, I should say, sorry, because the logos are in fact the wrong way around
Of course.
on the mainstream. So nothing we can do about this, folks. We'll just have to wait for them to notice. I'm assuming it's, you know, we'll see. Okay, they're gonna fix it, so we'll see if it's the names are the wrong way around or the logos are the wrong way around. Because it said Red had red side,
One thing
I
is
think,
wrong,
or
yeah.
last pick.
I think they had last pick. It had Pain blue side.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Pain
red
blue
is first
side,
pick.
red first pick.
Okay, it is right. Yeah, so that's fine. So it is correct. The champions are correct. So Ash Seraphine for Trigger Curry, right? And so that's the choice they're going to be. It's very strong in the 2v2. It's a little bit of a different speed for Curry. We don't see the Seraphine much, if ever, from him. But so we'll see if they're able to have a bit of more of a stable time down there. Because I think those two individuals definitely have enough skill to be a strong bot lane. They maybe just need a bit more time to bed in together.
Yeah, it could be a thing of meshing as much as possible in terms of like the time that it takes them. But as far as champions goes, one thing that I'm kind of interested here with pick going into the Jarvan here is that against Ash Seraphine, they have great teamfight ultimates and they can be really good in terms of how they provide like the range for the team and the like. But when you have pretty consistent engage on top of them, they don't have a lot of tools to try and escape. So if you lock them down in place, they are easy to be followed up on, and there's a lot of tools that the side of Red can try and draft to follow up on that. Obviously, Orianna is not there anymore, but there's other champions that they can try and go for. As far as the other bot lane pairing, Ezreal Bard, I think something similar to the first game where we saw the Ezreal with trying to remember the champion that they paired the Ezreal with, the Anivia, could have worked here just because of the range and the wall value as well that we saw from Furia. But the Bard also provides a similar idea, has stuns, and then the Tempered Fate to lock down champions that don't have a lot of mobility is always great as well.
Yeah, and I would give Frosty benefit of the doubt with Bard in probably any game at this point. He's such he's such an amazing Bard player, Frosty. Like he's one of the few players that can actually earn Bard bans, kind of even in rather general spots. So I'm happy to give him the benefit of the doubt right there. We'll see how Mortius can stack up on the Ezreal. We're still seeing them go through the second round of the bans as the UI is still kind of bored. So it looks like LeBlanc ban by Red in that second phase. And a Renekton Rumble ban there for Pain. So they're trying to lock down that top side, trying to take these kind of strong individual picks away from Zinz in that top side, going into Wiser. And the Xinjiao ban is the last option for jungle right there. There's already been an Ambessa locked in for Wiser for Pain, presumably for Wiser. Of course, it could still be flexed to jungle technically. Wouldn't be the most karaoke standard pick, but it is an option for them.
Yeah, there's a logic here that it can just be a karaoke pick because Mbessa can be flexed around really comfortably. That being said, a lot of focus towards just taking away some of the power picks that in general appear. I'm surprised with the LeBlanc ban. They really want to try and net the mid lane matchup into something that is really comfortable for the side of Red, which I'm not fully against because if you have control over the mid lane, you give more space for steps. And obviously, as we've seen before, giving space to steps and control for steps is actually a really beneficial strategy. So not fully against it. It looks like an Aatrox pick here, so it could be Aatrox in the jungle or in the top lane. I really like that they are still holding for the flex to see what they can go for. And it was a Gnar as well on the other side with the Akali, but the Akali here, an interesting pick if they opt into it because it would be a blind Akali pick.
Yeah, that would be bold. It would be a strong choice to make, because looks like they are still thinking about it. We see the Gnar locked into that top side right there for Zinz into, we're assuming the Ambessa, though of course it could still flex between the Aatrox, and the Mel comes down. Now this is blind. It is into Ash Seraphine, where of course the Reflect can be very strong against their ult engage options. but blind mail is definitely not safe inherently. You know, there are counter picks you can drop into this champion, and it looks like it's being hovered right now. Victor is absolutely one of them. Victor does not care about mail whatsoever.
Yeah, not at all. And I think the picture here for what they already have been drafting makes a lot of sense. The Annie, though, here, well, I'm pretty sure the Tiber cannot be reflected, obviously, but you can reflect the other spells. So there's
because it doesn't block all damage anymore, right? So the Tiber just kind of plows through the shields, but you can block the point and click stun, I suppose.
Exactly.
But all Annie has to do is just not use it on you, which doesn't actually really change her play that much in the mid lane.
Yeah, you can kind of play around it, but realistically, you shouldn't expect the Annie to be the one that you're targeting with your shield. It has to be 100% with their flex, sorry. It has to be the Ashe Seraphine, kind of like the main focuses here. The thing here that I'm looking at for Pain, or one of the things that I'm worried about for Pain here, is that they're pretty much depending on either Flash Annie Tivers, ultimate from the Seraphine, from a super long range, because if she walks too far forward, she's dead, or the Ambessa ultimate. And even though those are ways to try and engage a fight, they are not as consistent as you would think. Like, they are really dependent. It's not like having a Jarvan, right? Where you just Cataclysm in or flag and drag Cataclysm in. Like, there's more ways to actually force a fight on the side of red than there is on the side of Pain. And I'm also thinking here, I know I probably should know this, but can you reflect public execution with the Mel W?
No, I don't think you can. I don't think it's a projectile. And even if you do, you just put yourself on top of Ambessa. Like, it would just bring you to her as opposed to her to you, which would be worse, if anything.
I'm thinking if there's a way to do that, like, it kind of negates even another tool of engage for them, but if it doesn't, probably for the better, like you're mentioning, probably for the better that it doesn't, then it really can still be played around as the Ambessa there. The only thing is that it's not consistent engage, and that can be probably the most difficult thing for Pain to try and play with. Because apart from that, I think their composition is quite consistent in terms of what they have with range and damage. And if they get to a good spot into the mid to late game stages, I think they have a lot of opportunities to control the river and the objectives, and then just try and get the advantages through there.
Yeah, now Lunaday can maybe check that in chat. She has been checking our kind of gameplay questions throughout the first series. So if Ambessa ult Mel, does it reflect? Like I say, I don't think it does, and if it does, it would just kind of swat you like Urgot, old style Urgot ult yourself, right? You just kind of put yourself into the back. And we see the Pain fans, the traditionals, still throwing the fist up. They're going through it right now, I'll be honest, guys. They went through it in the Loud era, coming second over and over. They finally overcame them to make it to Worlds. They made it out of groups for the first time. A CBLOL team had done that in the modern era of League, especially kind of in that version of Worlds, when they had a group stage to get out of, or a play-in stage to get out of, sorry. So it felt like Pain had finally reached the top and were finally starting to open up a period of their own dominance, but they immediately got stifled by VKS. It all started to fall apart. And now here, or Fury, I think it was actually that stifled them. I don't remember exactly who it was, but ultimately it was short-lived, their success, and they have been going from struggle to struggle since then. But the fans are still doggedly supporting their team, as we would expect from them. The Brazilian fan base is very dedicated in their fandom.
Yeah, trying to live up to the expectations that you have on your team, but sadly not delivering. I think there's something more common that you see from, like, I don't want to say real sports, but like regular sports, where your team seems like they are going to do something great, and then they stagnate, and then they fall apart. I've lived that with my local team a lot, so I understand the pain quite a bit in that sense. But you have to build onto what you have now, and they need to find the right pieces to try and build on that. The first step could be winning here, obviously, but I feel like for the long run, the best thing for Pain would be to build on the right pieces, and hopefully they are able to find that eventually. And for the Pain fans, to just hold on. I'm sure that there's going to be better things in the future.
Yeah, this too will pass, Pain fans. Hopefully. Don't worry about it. It can't be like this forever. Please do not look into the history of INTZ and imagine that things could definitely turn out better than that. For Red, they're sitting pretty. We're trying to keep building this new top side, settle them in. We'll see how Steps can do into the veteran Carioca, and I am personally very interested to see what Kaze can do on this Mel. I don't think we've seen him on it before. He's one of my favorite mid laners to play. And yeah, into this Annie, we'll see what Kaze can achieve with this champion. So we'll get onto the Rift before too long. And just to kind of jump back onto the jungle matchup there, we kind of expected to see a more supportive, facilitating jungler for Karaoke.
Yeah.
He's actually got Aatrox. Like, he's got a carry jungler through and through. So this is stepping back into this team to lead from the front in terms of a damage profile. Maybe not necessarily just engaging the fight and setting up the lanes to push through the damage.
Yeah, the expectation I feel like probably for a lot of people was going to be like play the Pantheon for point and click CC, or play the Sejuani tank with engage potential, like something like that it's easier to pull off and you have a lot of tools to like go for it. This Aatrox, you have CC, but this is a champion where you have to be able to get damage down. You go in your fight with your ultimate popped up and you're going to heal a lot and get a lot of damage out, and you feel like a third carry in some instances, even secondary carry in some instances if you're ahead, and you can do a lot for your team in that sense. Now, for a first game back, it's risky, but I feel like it also shows the confidence that Karaoke is coming with. And for Pain, having confidence in a difficult situation is probably the best thing possible. You don't want to fall behind in terms of like what you want to do with your confidence, and you don't want to give a lot of room for the enemy team to do whatever they want because they have the confidence to pull it off and you don't. So this like signals at the very least something positive for me for Pain, and it means that Karaoke is not scared at all about the situation and that he's confident that he can pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I would generally want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been around and about for a long, long time, has Karaoke.
Yeah.
He has had multiple splits where he's been, if not the #1 jungler in the league, potentially even an MVP candidate in some of these splits. Even, you know, at times where Pain were not winning championships, right? They were being stifled consistently by Loud, but Karaoke was still incredibly strong individually. As we head onto the Rift for this match, let's see what he can do into the upstarts of Red as we go straight into the pause. So we'll have to stare at Kaze and Kaney for a while more, I suppose.
Is it like the second pause in a row? Because they were waiting already. Well, would that count as a pause, actually? Because they were, I'm not sure if they even were in.
Somehow. Yeah, I think they maybe had to restart the draft or something. And we'll give Steve's the Pain chance even more. Chance to buff up their team, to see what they can do. We can see the very, very active, very engaged. They want to see their fortunes turn, potentially today, if they can find it. And they want to win. In a word, they want to win. And for Red, I think you can see Frosty chatting away right there. One of the more interesting aspects of Red for me, I think, has been like how good Frosty has been individually, mechanically, as a team player, as a laner. But sometimes we have started to see him crack a little bit under pressure. We've seen them throw games a couple times. We've seen them in playoffs against Loud in the Cup really not be able to play to their potential, especially Frosty. So I'm keeping an eye on this trajectory for him to see if he can kind of learn from these experiences, perform a little better in the high pressure moments. And obviously we'll have to wait until playoffs to truly find out, but that is going to be something that I'm aware of with this guy going forward.
Yeah, it's like the good mix-up that you expect to see from them. Obviously, the more you play in playoffs, the more opportunities you'll have to learn from that. And the more experience you have with losing in those situations, you probably are going to know now what you can do and what you can in most of those situations. But I feel like for Frosty, having a team that you can rely on in those situations will work out really nicely. And it feels like Red is setting up like that. Like they are slowly but surely becoming a team that each player can rely on to try and carry it out. And that's something that you always will value, especially when you become like closer to that top spot. You need to have teammates that you can rely on almost any point. And maybe Red will eventually give that to Frosty with Morteos, Cassie, and Steps stepping up like they are. And even since that, we didn't have a lot of expectations or knowledge about what was going to happen with them. And so far, I think that he's been performing really nicely as well.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this a bit on the last Gringos Liberados podcast episode, that Morteus does give Red a very different style of bot laner to play with. Rebello, I think, while he was pretty hard done by this whole situation, he is a bit more variable, a bit more volatile, whereas Morteus is very hard to knock out of a game. Like, traditionally, he's very resilient. He's not the most explosive 2v2 player, but he is undoubtedly a very strong team fighter, and he's quite resilient, as Karaoke is deep into the other side of the jungle. We see a flash from Frosty to get a stun down, and this Aatrox already starting to suffer. Steps gets knocked back. First blood from Kaze, though. The Mel passive execute coming in clutch. And Karaoke, I spent a long time bigging up your chops in the jungle, my friend, and you invaded straight into the face of Red and died. So not the ideal start for Pain.
Frosty did him so dirty in that play. Flash stun onto the wall before he even flash propped from Carioca, so not able to escape there. And in general, the idea from Carioca is not bad because he's getting pushed in mid lane, he's getting pushed in bot lane. So the first moves should realistically come from their side. But because he doesn't get the smite here, he's already in a spot where he cannot fight steps. He's way too deep, and that gives Frosty a little bit of an angle. You can see the play from Frosty there, perfect execution in that spot. And then when you're locked up in that position, it's just very easy for them to be able to pull it off. Unlucky that they do not get an assist on Morpheus, but in general, you get a lot of value out of that as Frosty should find here. Yeah.
Yep, Bart was the safety. We'll survive that one. So a great start for Red into the pocket of the mid laner, and Steps avoids getting scaled on from that early side. Some flashes committed by both sides as well. So Red been given a lovely start to this one. Goes for an invade of his own. Doesn't pick up the large raptor though, I believe. So we'll have to back away, but still comfortably ahead of Karaoke for the time being. We see Kaze really trying to push the advantage from that first kill. Could go into a Dark Seal and Mana Crystal and Amplifying Tome, so he now has the ability to spam harder than ever before, and the Mel laning is still pretty oppressive for a champion like Annie, who can't just outrange her as easily.
Yeah, he also did teleport back in, so has a slight advantage with the damage like you were mentioning. So we're just waiting to see when Kayn goes back into base, teleports back, and gets a little bit of damaging.
Ooh, Kaze commits too early. Paguri's down the corner, uses the reflect to get away. Frosty looking to complete that kill. Who's going to find it first? Kayn, he survives.
Just an auto.
Kaze, he goes back for the root, but it gives Curry the room to auto attack. And it is going to be a kill for the Pain support. So Kaze overcommitting in that mid lane, missed the E and went to go for the kill anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. What did he try to flash in? Did he try to flash the stun from Curry? Because I don't think Kayn had any CC up for himself. So he flashed in to try and reflect something, but I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, I honestly think it just I think he just overestimated his damage, to be honest. Overestimated his execution potential. Yeah, because you know, when you hit the abilities, you throw the abilities out, it stacks up passive, so you do get bigger of an execute threshold. But early on, it's not large. It's really not very big. And I think we saw they just kind of did the sums wrong. Maybe didn't expect Curry to go around the corner and thought, well, I'll get it in 2 or 3 autos, and did not have a chance to hit those 2 or 3 autos. We see here when he hits the E and the Q, the damage is massive. Like if he gets the proper combo, he has more than enough damage. But you do have to hit the E to start it off, otherwise you don't really have enough to push through.
Yeah, he's a level away from being able to try and execute Kayn, but he's also at a point where there's the chance that he just gets executed on, especially with Carioca hovering on the side. They are trying to set up potentially for the dragon fight here, even though Steps already secures it, and early advantage is already setting up for Red. Yes, the mid lane play may have gone a little bit eerie, but in general, they are finding really good plays all around the map. Steps already securing quite a bit of a lead. Like you can see it, 11 CS ahead of Carioca already, and in the bot lane, even though it's a little bit bothersome for this Ezreal, so far, not a bad job by Morpheus to try and get back some lead in their favor, as Curry gets a lot of damage down there.
Yeah, the beat drop hitting pretty hard right there. Now, do they know, chat, do they know that Steps is in that brush? We'll find out in a moment's time if they try and push this wave too far up. Trigger is putting himself almost in flag and drag range. He surely is in there.
Yep.
And there's the capitalization. Steps flies out of the brush, gets the first kill. Cataclysm's trigger forces an ass flash. And Red Steps with a lovely trap laid in the bot lane.
Yeah, and Steps playing with the way that we were hoping that he would play so far with his start, and really good plays so far with how he's been pulling around the map. He's getting engages on the bot lane, he's finding the right place, he had level 6, so even blows away the flash from the Ashe. That means that now a repeat gank can come through very effectively for them, and it's gonna be difficult to put a stop onto what Red wants to achieve down there on the bot side. And another thing, Kaze has not been taking advantage of without a flash at this point. There's already level 6 for Kayn, but there's no attempt at trying to go for the Mel just now, so there's a good opportunity that we see Kaze getting his flash back as, Carioca.
He doesn't have level 6 yet, but he's still happy to go for it. The Ashe Arrow will not connect. Red will have to cede control of their Raptors, and they'll get away as Zinz hops over Robo's head to get back to safety and top side. So Red weather the aggression by Pain. A little over 1,000 gold is their lead at 7 minutes, plus the Drake to their favor. as they're still trying to contest Pain, but playing nice and respectful. They don't want to walk into a 3v3 for no reason.
Yeah, they don't need to overcommit for anything. Like, they already had their slight lead. They know that they don't have flashes on important members. Cataclysm was not active on steps just yet. So it's fine to take a little bit of a back step and wait before you can actually fight. Since also backed away because he was low on health. So it's like you don't want to fight with numbers disadvantage at any point. At the very least, not for now, where there's no objective really to fight for it. But you can see the setup. Morteo's baiting with as much health as possible. He's very, very low. He even takes another trade here when he's about to just fall below 20% even, but the setup is perfect for his steps. Even Arcane shifts to the side and gets enough damage onto the kill. And once again, losing that flash as the Ashe, it's really detrimental because it can set up for so many plays, not only for steps, but even Frosty coming in on the side with a Bard portal, and you can just get locked down and killed very easily.
Yeah, does open the options up for Red Canids to keep playing through that bot lane. Steps with the biggest lead right now, 750 gold up on Karaoke with a kill and an assist, plus some stolen camps as well. 2 minutes on the next Drake to come through, so no objectives to play around for out on this bot side for the time being. Grubs might be the next option, and we already see Jarvan and Bard roaming into bot side, hunting for Karaoke to try and slow him down. They just missed him coming around the corner, and maybe they're instead looking for a dive, but Karaoke is going to see that this camp is being stolen right now. This could turn into a 3v3. Red might be a little bit pincered. Morteus over the wall, not in the best position. Steps slides through Karaoke, gets away from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Curry taking a bit of poke from Morteus. Steps now comes back onto Trigger, who has no flash, as we said.
So good.
Morteus with the kill. Morteus picks up the first. Karaoke's gone World Ender. Steps is dropping real low. Kaney's the first to rotate from mid lane. Counter kill from Pain. This 4v3 now turning in the favor of Pain. One apiece so far. Frosty trying to reposition. Has a magical journey. Does he have it? Doesn't, I suppose. As Karaoke picks up a second. So Red overstay their welcome.
Yeah, and you could see on the live camera before the death of the Ashe happened, where Annie used Tibbers onto the mid lane, forced a little bit onto Cassie, and made it so that the Mel cannot go through or go down there as well. The Bard portal actually was used by the Bard to come down, and it's also what Kaney uses to come into the fight and get the kill. Funny way of actually dying in that process, but overall, Pain finding some tools at the very least to come back into the game. That being said, they were about to get danced on really heavily by Red in that position. Steps just moving around, flag and drag here, flag and drag there, finding the Ashe, and once again, no flash. Very easy to get the Cataclysm down and get the kill as Robo. Is it off?
Zinz is threatening. He has got the shield to get him away. Zinz won't find the solo kill on the TP right there. Red has pressure in that top side continuing to build right now, and Kaney's rotation down to the bot side was certainly very timely. Kaze did not really move from mid lane, just opted to get the push on instead. Has gone for the Merc Treads as well early on to try and protect him from the potential engage from the Annie. Is he going to take a little bit of damage off the table? We can see a replay of that bot fight, and Steps was running rings around them for the first half for sure.
Yeah, he even played around Vision so effectively there. As we see, they find Trigger here. Look at that magical portal, right? That's what sets up for Karaoke to even come back in, and then also the Annie that had the first move. If not, this could have been much, much worse actually for Pain. They could have gotten the kill, of course, but it probably could have been an even trade in a much more effective manner for Red. At the end, though, getting those kills back, getting the Annie as well into play there, really, really important, and getting the extra gold for the members that will have a lot of value later on was going to be ideal as Robo dies.
Oh dear.
He just dies?
He just dies to Mininar. I don't know if there was even a Meganar involved. It is on cooldown, but not from instantly, so
I think there was a live fight before, but we were seeing the replay, so we didn't see it.
Yeah, there's a flash from Robo as well, so some sort of scuffle left Robo low, and he does just give over the kill. Now, Red are trying to turn this into a Drake. They can't have a rotation from Zinz. He's got no TP. Still a 4v4 if they want to play it. Ult is cleansed away by Morteus, avoiding the arrow. This time, Kaze has the first move, though. Karaoke goes low. Steps picks up the Drake. The Encore finds two, but a Bard ult catches both the bot laners as well, and Red pile in onto Curry. Kaney's only just arrived, but this play is already done.
Yeah, even though Kane gets at the end there, they have so much control at that point. They find multiple picks. They find multiple ways to be able to get the kill onto the Seraphine. And even though the Ashe escapes once again, loses her flash. So that means that another repeating attempt by Steps can work out into finding another kill. And importantly as well, they get the Dragon. So all of the things that could have gone well for Red here go well, and everything that could have gone bad for Pain Doesn't go necessarily entirely bad because Karaoke survives, but it could have been much, much worse. Also, great temper fade by Frosty there, stopping the ensuing damage and enabling them to set up onto the kill for the Seraphine. All in all, just really, really good plays by Red. And I want to give some props to Pain in some regards, but obviously because they did lose that fight, it looks much worse.
Oh, brother, this is tough. This is tough for Robo. Not what Payne wanted to see. Zint certainly seems to be scaling up into this split right now. He had a little bit of a slow start, but he is now solo killing the most decorated Brazilian player of all time, multiple times in a single game, and doesn't seem to be breaking a sweat.
Is this like the meme of step aside, old man, the new generation here? I don't remember exactly how it was, but it was something like that.
Yeah, it's Robo has been struggling a little bit in this split. I think Tino's bowed out after the cup, and I think, to be honest, we might not be too far away from the same move from Robo. Obviously, he has stuck around longer than I thought he would, so who's to say when he will finally look to hang up the mouse and keyboard, but right now, it's not looking the best for him as Kaze finds a good trade into mid lane, does blow the reflecting shield without any actual real value there, so won't have it for a little while as Frosty is getting bullied out of his own jungle right now. The magical portal does give them a route into the jungle, but the Tempered Fate catches two once again. Karaoke is now getting knocked up by Steps. He's popped the World Ender as Kaney and Curry following up, looking for an angle.
Oh, the re-engage
goes onto the Cataclysm to find two. Kaze though drops the ultimate, executes Karaoke, turns onto Curry, Steps with another knock up onto Kaney, and this guy is just phenomenal, everybody. It's crazy what
Wait, they even kill Ash?
As Frosty 1v1's Trigger at the end.
Wait, Trigger killed Mortheos in the process as well. So yeah, even though they get more value, don't get me wrong, like they find way more kills and way more opportunities there, but Steps and Cassie just running the show on the side. Props to Frosty as well. The play started with him, but he doesn't die until very end where he gets the trade for the Ash as well. But it's such a good play by Red, such a good play by Steps, and he's just running the show in the jungle. Like, I don't think Karaoke is necessarily performing bad for a comeback, but Steps is just much better. You can see on the plays here, the setup looked good because they were collapsing on Frosty well, but because Bard can just take longer to be able to play around this, even though Seraphy flashes away, he goes in back in, gets the setup onto Karaoke, takes enough time to be able to play around, has the flag and drag once again with the Cataclysm, and he understands the way that he needs to set up for the team. He knows his angles, he knows how far he can go and how close he can go, and it's just much more effective. As we see how Trigger gets the kill there, and even though he gets the kill, ends up dying in the process. So for Red, just value overall. Trigger getting something is good, but Red finds most of the value in that play.
Even the flash flag and drag follow onto Kaney at the end of that play for Steps, right? He is just mechanically styling on Payne in this game, and he does not seem like there's any chance of him slowing down after those phenomenal first couple of games. He is still absolutely crushing it right now as Payne struggling to get their feet under them. We're 15 minutes in, and they're down in Drakes. They're down almost 5,000 gold. They've got no grubs. The grubs have been entirely ignored in this game. They just went unpicked as Zint goes to threaten another solo kill onto Robo. Cannot connect the Mega Gnar.
It doesn't find the right angle there, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, they get the push, and they are going to get the control over this Herald, which they are looking to start. There is a chance for a fight here. Annie does have teleport, same as the Mel, so there's a slight chance that we may see a little bit of a fight here, but it doesn't look like Payne wants to commit at this point. They understand that their composition can scale a little bit as well, so maybe buying time would probably work out better for them. Also, just a quick thing, a bit of a criticism that I have with the graphic. Why show both teams red? Like, I understand both of them are red colored, but it can get confusing, no?
Yeah, it's like they do look really similar. It's hard to split them apart sometimes. It's like just the tiniest part of Payne's logo that's red, but sometimes they've opted for that color. Mortius has to cleanse away from the Encore. Frosty catches the bot laners again, both in the Bard ultimate. It's damage back across from Red, but they still have to give up the space. Payne back away without finding any kills that they want. Red do have the Herald now to play with. The Dragon has just spawned as well. So Red with the gold and the map control, and they could look to distract Payne with a Herald drop if they wish.
Yeah, they can use the Herald, but I think that there's very little chance here for Payne to actually force a fight. They committed 2 ultimates, and it's not like they found anything meaningful out of those ultimates to really be able to force a fight here. If Red wanted to, they can try and force here with steps, forcing the play with the Cataclysm, and it could be really detrimental for Pain. Looks like they have control over the Dragon. They're not forcing it just yet, just because there is position there for Gigo, or sorry, for Robo to try and go on the side, but there's not a lot that Pain have in their side to be able to force something. I feel like it's just a matter of time before Red get the Dragon, and that's it.
Yeah, I think they just have so much more power to offer right now this early in the game. They're absolutely crushing it right now. Ezreal is about to tick 360 stacks and convert into the Mirror Mana as well, so he is absolutely spiking in the Ezreal mid game too. You can see Karaoke just doesn't really have a realistic track into this Dragon contest. So Ocean Soul Point secured for the Red Canids. Robo getting rotated on. Backstep from Kaze avoids giving Robo an ult to safety. He can't find the route, but he does have the execute. And the TP coming in as Karaoke with the World Ender is looking to extend this play. Kaney's going to come in with an Agni ult to offer, but he gets stuck into the wall. The Ezreal ult as well. Now Steps has arrived. The Bar ultimate doesn't work out. It just locks up his own jungler. But it's not like Red Canids need it, TDS. They're still crushing this play. Dive in the turret. Pain member after Pain member collapsing to the gray screen as they simply cannot stop Red. An ace locked up off the bot lane play.
Yeah, not gonna lie, this is exactly what I was expecting when somebody mentions first place against last place. Like, this is the sort of thing that I'm expecting to see, and Red is not afraid to show the level of difference between both themselves and Pain so far. Such a good fight, such a good play in general, because the way that it starts is simply really smart. You're finding Robo pushing too far forward, you collapse on the side with the magical portal from Frosty and Cassie, and I think it was Since coming in on the side as well, and then you just have more members, more time to get the kill, and even though the Annie comes in, you're also playing without Mega Gnar. As soon as that comes in, you have better setup, the remaining members are also coming in on the side for Red, so all in all, it's just a better setup, better play, obviously better wallets as well, but everything is just much better prepped by Red, and it works out much better because of it. Also, sad flash by Trigger there, sadly ends up losing his life with that as well. And for future plays, it's going to be more difficult to fight it out without flashes on your main carries.
Low-key, Zinz absolutely fried that team fight. Frosty with another flash binding as well, and Kaze and Steps. Looks like they found another pick onto Kaney. Frosty is going to get pulled back the chains, ults himself for safety. Kaze, though, drops and reflects the Sin at the Encore. Gets a couple of lockups, but it's not stopped Pain getting that kill onto Frosty. Steps not looking too healthy. Morteus over the wall. It's peppering these mystic shots into Karaoke. He tries to go aggressive, but the killing spree is locked up as Zinz. Kaze's isolated. He's going to be knocked down. Zinz, triple Gnar back from the tower. Steps to follow it up, and Red Canids absolutely monster Pain once again.
And that was a great fight by Pain. They were finding really good angles. They killed Frosty really early on. They find the Mel. But the problem is that they don't have the damage to follow up on it. Kaney also was down for all that just now respawn. And without your any follow-up there with the T-Burst as well, you don't really have a lot of CC apart from what you already had with the Surfing and the ultimate from the Ambessa. So it's just an easy setup to follow up on. But realistically, a lot of this also comes down to the wallet diff. When you have more gold, when you have more damage in your favor, some of these fights you can just win by brute forcing it, essentially.
Yeah, at this point, I think Red are happy enough to just accept any fight that Pain offers to them and go, no, we're just better than that. We're not going to lose this play. And we can see how this started. So Kaney does get picked off at the beginning. Basically, just no way out of that one. Or, Ezreal even connects. But Pain feel like they have a shot, and they do have a nice little choke to play over Frosty here. But it just kind of, they don't have enough to get more than one.
It's like, even though the setup was right there, I feel like a lot of this also comes from Red just committing as far as they can, because they know that they have the advantage to do whatever they want. And Karaoke has such a big heal there, but it doesn't really matter. It's just very, very down in that spot. Ray 2-man Gnar into the wall, easy to get the remaining kills. And we haven't touched much on him because we mainly panned there because he gets the kills. But Zinz has had such a good game on the Gnar so far. Controlling Robo, winning the lane easily, getting the solo kills, setting up the team with the Mega Gnar as well whenever he comes. He's just doing such a good job for a player that doesn't have the highlight from the rest of them in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely right. Curry's been caught up by a Steps Cataclysm. There's just no way out. He's got no flash quite yet. Kaney manages to escape the Bard ultimate with a
No.
Proto Belt, but it's going to get followed up on anyway, and Steps is going to just kill him again, so the bot lane Baron push continues. But you're absolutely right, TDS. I think that Zinz was kind of the last piece where we were looking for that real highlight game. We've obviously seen it from Steps so far in the split. Kaze, we know, is goated. Frosty as well. Morteus has been clicking since the moment he joined this roster. The last missing piece was how much can Zinz offer? And in a game like this, he has offered a massive, massive amount into a big name like Robo. So that is like, yeah, the last piece of the puzzle for Red slotting into place. Now, it's against Pain Gaming. I don't want to oversell them too much for this win, but it is certainly a very good-looking win nonetheless.
Yeah, I think that for this sort of games where there's a clear difference between the two rosters in terms of like their position in the table, the expectations and all that, you need to see dominating wins. Not necessarily because they will tell you a lot, but because the expectations should be set on that. And if they can win in a dominating manner, at the very least, that shows you that they are not at the spot that they are because of a fluke. They are there because they are better than most of the other teams has. Engage their Sins may die here in this spot.
Oh, surely, Brave, we can get this
enough.
over. No, they can't. Yes, they can. Okay, they'll get the trade jungle for top lane right now. A shutdown's a shutdown. And even trades for Pain aren't too bad, but they do lose their jungler.
Yeah.
With that, any hope of stopping the soul.
Yeah, and I think there was a chance there that maybe Steps was thinking, I can rush this dragon down and maybe get the dragon soul so that I can save Sins. At the end, he does die. Bad kill, bad death at the end there by Sins. You get gold back in the favor of Pain, which is really, really important, and also shut down one of the Baron buffs. So at the very least, the push was not going to become as dangerous as it could have been, but Baron buff was about to fall down as well in the process, so it's not like it really, really matters at the end of the day. Now, I want to see how long it takes for Red to finish this game. I don't think that Pain is going to be able to turn it around. I really feel that we're about to see them just running into the mid lane and trying to close it out as soon as possible. But there's always human error to take into account. There's slight hope for them. Ooh. Flash out.
Yeah, there's always a window, right? Red have thrown bigger leads than this, even just in 2026. So it will not write them off just yet. We see Pain, they're setting up in the jungle, trying to get what vision down they can, looking for anyone from Red to get a bit sloppy with the way they move around the jungle to give themselves a chance for another shutdown to pick up. But ultimately, Red are not giving them the option just yet. The waves are now coming in. Kaney trying to hold off that super wave bot lane is now backing away, and Red don't have the Baron, to be fair, so they don't have as much pushing power, but they certainly have enough power to just step up.
Oh, perfect back.
Oh, the reflected beat drop. Oh my word, the damage is huge. Curry gets absolutely cooked on a double beat drop reflect, and now sets up the kill for Karaoke. Double for Kaze.
Oh, the three-man
gets crashed down on by Steps with a Cataclysm. And that just says it all, doesn't it? Red, I thought they'd have to wait for the next Baron to come up. This game would drag on for 30 minutes, but Red have no interest in such an outcome, and they're now knocking on Nexus turrets.
Yeah, they're waiting for the super minions to come in, maybe try and kill Kane here in the fountain. I don't think they're going to care about that as much. They're going to close out the game there, but really, from start to finish, Red just being really, really good. Pain trying to play it out. I think Pain had a couple of moments that I really thought maybe this could be it. With playing in the jungle when Kane was coming down and they get a couple of kills back. But it's just like the difference is too much there. And I think we have to call it. Steps really trying to make a case for him being the best player.
Yeah. He's coming onto a team with Kaze and Frosty on it, and he's like, nah, bro, I'm the carry of this team.
Yeah.
Look no further. It's such a different speed, such a different approach stylistically compared to Doom. And I thought that, like, stylistically what Doom offered still made sense in Red, because you had strong carries in Kaze. At the time, you had FMB who could still carry from top lane. You had Rebella who's playing a lot more carry-oriented, so it felt normal to have a more sort of facilitating jungler there. But the way they've swapped it around, Morteus in, Zinz now is able to pop up like this, and Steps is just laying down blinders every single game. Like, we're still waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the bad game to arrive, because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's not something that has happened yet. And the thing here with the Steps is that I think he can be set up or put into the category of someone like Thatcher, right? Where it's not like they are dominating in a big manner, but more so they are willing to go for plays that maybe other junglers are not willing to go. Because, for example, in the first few minutes, right, you see Karaoke going into the jungle trying to steal from Steps. He gets his camp, then moves to the side, waits for the bar to arrive, and then immediately goes in. Or then when they were trying to kill Frosty in the jungle as well, in their blue side jungle, funnily enough as well, he goes flag and drag into a cataclysm to set up for the team. So it's like these small plays that look like maybe you don't think about too much or the other junglers don't practically try to go for, but he goes for in most occasions. Same for Tattoo. He goes for plays or they go for plays that maybe others don't try to opt into, that may be a little bit more risky, but that can set up the team for success. In that same vein, I also think that he has been really good at getting leads by himself compared to other junglers. So it's just been a really good show of just an attempt at being the dominating jungler, not only by virtue of getting more CS out of everyone else, but also just by virtue of being better than everyone else in their decision making. And it's been great to see so far. Obviously, I want to take a little bit of a measured take onto steps, because apart from maybe Youngjae, which has been like the better jungler he has gone so far, it's been Karaoke, and then it's been forgetting the name.
Who do
Pitch
they even play?
in the jungle, Pitch and Karaoke and Youngjae. So I think apart from
Yeah.
Youngjae, the competition in jungle maybe hasn't been the greatest, but it's been such a dominating way of playing that it's difficult to not put him up really effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I cannot wait to see him against Drake Hero, against Tatu, these other like very dynamic junglers that we have in the league. It's
Yeah.
great to see him perform this well against a player like Karaoke, though of course Pain as a team generally do still seem to be suffering pretty heavily. We'll go for a break for now. We'll be back to see if they can show us any more in the second game, or if Red will continue to storm forward to a 6-0 record. So don't go anywhere, guys.
Yep.
We'll run some ads in the break to get rid of those pre-rolls, and we'll see you back here for game number 2. Welcome back, everybody. Second draft is underway. Pain Gaming versus Red Canids. Currently, Pain 0-1 down, still struggling to find their groove despite the reintroduction of Carioca. And Red Canids are still flying through this early part of Split 1. Steps is popping off, Kaze is popping off, and now even Zints is popping off. Every way you look, these guys are playing excellent.
Yeah, it's high level for almost every one of them, and trying to close out this series in a really good manner so that they can keep that momentum going in their favor. Starting off with strong one, I think the Nocturne here, we have seen it banned before. Not gonna have like the combo with the Nocturne Oriana, but it's not gonna be the end of the world. Now looking into the side of Pain, trying to maybe give themselves a little bit of a stronger bot lane or strong bot lane matchup once again. The Seraphine Ashe was working to a certain degree, but it didn't feel like they completely dominated the bot lane. Maybe with the Caitlyn Nico this time around, they can try and pull off something like that. And it's something where I feel like Mortheos and Frosty didn't need to overplay themselves to try and carry the game, because I feel like it naturally fell into place because of how Cass's, Steps, and Sins were playing.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like a very natural fit for them. As we get into the second part of the draft, Caitlyn Nico has been locked in for Trigger and Curry, so it's got good range, good playmaking, good burst, very strong 2v2. The answer for Red so far, they started with Nocturne Jungle, and they're answering with Jhin and Aurora. So Morteus is going to be on less of a late game carry, though, of course, it does have burst options available to it as well. Support pool might get thinned out a little bit in that second round of bans, and Kaze or potentially Zints could take this Aurora into their hands.
Yeah, in general, trying to play with the Aurora here for the teamfight ultimate. You have the potential for the flex that you're mentioning with the Cass, and since having that opportunity there with the Aurora, I think more than likely we're going to see it in the mid lane, because Cass has played it before, if I'm not wrong already, where I'm not sure. I don't see Sins as an Aurora player, but I may be wrong in the way that they will try and draft for them. And then trying to see what else can the side of Red play around with here. I think for support, though, with Jhin already picked and no Bard or nothing like that, I don't think Lulu particularly fits very well with something like the Jhin nor the Nami. We probably will see some sort of engaged support here to follow up effectively there with the Jhin.
Yeah, maybe something like a Nautilus. Well, there goes the Nautilus ban, sadly. Karma's already been removed as an option there. Bard obviously is now fearlessly unavailable. We see that with Jhin sometimes. So we'll see what Frosty has in the tank. Of course, there's always the Frosty Pike, I suppose, if he wants to pull that one out once again. Though the last time we saw it, it absolutely popped off in lane and then lost the game against Loud in kind of a hilarious moment from the CBLOL Cup. So
of course,
for Pain, we're looking for top jungle for Robo and Karaoke. Now, Karaoke went for a carry last time in the Aatrox, and he didn't do much. Was kind of punished early on by an invade that got rotated on by Red, and then in the team fights wasn't able to really make anything happen, didn't have too much playmaking potential himself. So I wonder if we're going to see him go to more of a facilitator, or if he's going to still try and loop from the front. Obviously, the Vi is still open, and we have an Ari pick, so that could be the choice they go for.
Pantheon technically could also go for there. You have the point and click CC there, very effective as well. Xin Zhao even could be picked here as well. So I think for the side of Pain, probably something that can set up. You already have the Caitlyn and the Ari to kind of have that sort of power early on that you can try and play around with. So you can go for more of a setup jungler to try and follow up on that. There's plenty of tools there to go for. In the top lane, though, I'm not sure if they want to give Robo a more safe matchup, because in the previous game, they did give him the Ambassa, and it wasn't the prettiest. Robo really struggled in that sort of matchup, so maybe this time around they want to try and give him a little bit more of a blind sort of comfort matchup and play around that. Looks like Wukong potentially could be one of the picks here. They are hovering it, and it feels like they are trying to opt into it. Not what I was expecting to see from Carioca. If he opts into it, gives teamfight prowess and potential to put pressure onto the Jhin. But honestly, I'm surprised that they are opting into it at this point.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a standard pick for Carioca, but maybe not necessarily as high priority we see right now. I'm wondering what we're going to see for... Because we have this Nocturne, right? And we don't have any traditional pairings with it so far. There's, Jhin Ultimate can combo with it a little bit, but there's not really any setup necessarily for that Nocturne Ultimate. So I'm wondering if we're going to get that from top or support. It looks like right now we've got the Silas coming in here, presumably for Kaze right now. So it has like some good dive potential to try and follow a Nocturne engage, but again, it doesn't necessarily combo with it in any particular
Well,
way. I mean,
you
if you
do have
steal
now
Nico
Nico
off, that
ulti.
does.
Yeah, you do
Yeah,
have
that's
Nico ulti
yeah.
now.
And Rakan, this feels a bit more aligned. This feels a bit more like if Frosty's in range to follow Zints on the engage, then you can kind of follow him in, get a piggyback on him to get in the quickness range, and then knock up, etc.
Yeah, the idea seems fun and good to be executed on, right? You have the engage power plus the damage value in general to be able to pull it up as last pick for Pain here. I would be really surprised if they force the Bane here. Not necessarily a bad choice in terms of if it goes against the Sylas, and it looks like it's going to be the Bane coming here for top lane for Robo. So
Okay.
wasn't comfortable with the fact
Okay.
that he lost lane very heavily with the Ambessa. Now he's gonna be the aggressor pretty much as the Bane, and it is going to be against the Aurora. So it's range against range, but the AD carry should have the advantage with the auto attacks in some situations.
Yeah, he should. Do I think Robo has a Vayne top? No, I'll be honest. I don't. I don't think Robo has a serviceable Vayne top. The last time we saw it in the CBLOL, I think was Zest who picked it in, was it even a playoff series? It might have been the playoff stage of CBLOL Cup, and it was mega useless. And Zest is one of our best top laners. He didn't have one. This feels like a bit of a Hail Mary draft. You know, we're tankless. We have some pick potential with Nico ult, Wukong ult. We've got some CC there. We've got Caitlyn traps to follow it up. Ari as well, but not necessarily the best like Ari combination jungler.
Yeah.
And then we just have a Vayne top kind of chilling in this draft. So who knows? Maybe this is the way for Pain to destabilize Red's plan to try and kind of keep their lanes from getting comfortable start, and then pull them in too many different directions. Lots of mobile carries in the team fight. Right, Ari's going over here, Vayne's going over there, Caitlyn's running down the middle. So I don't know. It seems like a bit of a Hail Mary, and to be honest, maybe that's what Pain need.
Well, they need something, and a Hail Mary is never a bad idea if you feel like you're desperate enough that you don't have anything else to fall into. And yeah, Pain feels like seems to be in that place. Now, for this composition or for this game, I think Pain do need to have a much stronger showing for their lanes, particularly. I think the bot lane in the previous game didn't necessarily play bad, but I feel like they got baited quite a bit in most situations, and they ended up losing a lot of the power that they could have had in normal circumstances. So maybe this time around with the Nico and the Caitlyn, with having more of a early potential domination with the Caitlyn can be more ideal, also for objective control. And then when they reach level 6, try and collapse as much as possible in the bot lane. Because one thing that at the very least this time around it's going to be easier to pull off for Pain is killing the AD carry. In the previous game you were against an Ezreal, so it was easier for Motheus to try and escape. Now it's a Jhin. So if his flash is down, you can kill this champion very easily. And when you take down one of the main pieces or one of the pieces from Red, they depend too much on engage heavy ultimate or on ultimates with heavy engage. And if they don't pull off their combo, they lose out on quite a bit of the damage as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Waves crashing in now. Both bot laners with vision of each other, looking for those early trades. Pain with Trigger and Curry, obviously, I think should have the advantage in this early stage, right? Jhin Rakan is it's like not necessarily like a dominating 2v2. It's not bad either. It kind of works. They do have a bit of range to use, a bit of CC combinations to make their damage isn't super high though, right? Because Jhin, as you said before when we saw it in the previous series, like the DPS isn't really high, normally finishing kills, not kind of setting them up, and Rakan doesn't have damage to set them up in the first place, so unlikely to see too many kills, I think, from Motheus and Frosty this game, but that's kind of the point of this new Motheus move, right? Is Motheus can be a guy who doesn't have to smash the 2v2, but theoretically, he's always going to be useful, he knows what his role is, and he's going to be able to play this Jhin out well, even if he has to seed the lane to some degree.
Yeah, you want to have someone that you can depend on for late stage fights,
yes,
or later in the game where you know that things may get difficult, but you know that he can try and carry. Now, Jhin is one of those champions that you don't expect to see popping up in late game. Maybe a 1/4 shot defines you the game, but if he gets left in touch, he is quite good at dealing a good amount of burst damage that you never expect.
And there's no tanks, right? Pain has
there's no
real
tanks.
frontline.
Maybe the clones can mess him up. Like, for example, if it's like a 4th shot into a clone and he messes up his combo, that can be like the only thing.
Yeah.
But realistically, he can blow everyone up. Even with ultimate, like if he hits 4 shots onto almost anyone at like 20 minutes in the game, he can actually solo kill someone off of that with the damage that he has.
Oh
Oh,
dear,
Robo,
Robo.
no.
Speaking of solo kills, okay, he knocks them away, but the flash is in the last
Oh,
auto.
no.
And it's another solo kill. Zints with the first blood. Robo is just, he's hemorrhaging today.
Yeah, it's not a good look for him. It's another solo kill, and in this matchup, it's much, much worse to get solo kill because you're playing the Bane
Yeah.
as a counter pick. You know that if you fall behind, you're not going to have a lot of angles to really play this game off. And when Steps reaches level 6, it's going to be easier for him to actually get on top of you and kill you as Arioka comes in, Steps. Oh, he finds the real one, actually.
Nocturne's a fearsome 1v1er as Karaoke dropping low. Steps actually giving a lot of respect, waiting for the potential Kaney rotation there. Doesn't want to get drawn into a 2v1 as Kaze is pushing up mid lane. He's pretty low right now. He's getting
Ignite used.
ignited. Kaney's threatening. Doesn't want to flash in to try and secure a kill, but Kaze oversteps his bounds a little bit there.
He does have the teleport though, and the ignite already down means that lane pressure going to fall down a little bit for Kaini in this position. I do think they lose out on the Scuttlecraft down there on the bot side, but importantly, it's a really good show of how much power they simply just have on the side of Red, where Steps can win the 1v1 against the Wukong at this point, and then also, since already winning the 1v1 in the top lane, it's really on what the other two lanes can do to just hold on until their strong points and then enable Steps to be able to win it out. Yeah, another bad trade for Robo. He doesn't have teleport.
Dude.
Yeah, it's painful.
I don't want to see this, man. Like, I didn't like watching the BRTT low split either, and I don't like watching this. Like, I don't want this to be the last split of Robo is to be games like this, man. Like, even in just the previous split on Pain, he was doing okay. The one before that, his last kind of sprints on Loud, he was actually pretty decent by the end of it. He was actually trending up again in those last stages in 2025. But now it just feels like we're going from bad to worse right now. We're somewhat spiraling as Kaney gets away from the Abscond Abduct right there. Frosty's in the area, is going to find a knockup. Curry, though, gets a couple of roots down to slow the advance of Red. It's a good trade for Red. And with level 6s approaching, Kaney's going to have to be careful.
Yeah, good damage back. At the very least, they are able to find something good in terms of what they were able to put up pressure onto Kane. They did move around a little bit as well in terms of what they are trying to push here with Curry, trying to help out in the mid lane. But the problem is staying there. Like, you have Kase being able to draw attention from the other places. Oh, they have the ulti.
Oh, Spirit Rush is going through. They gets the knockup. Frosty's there, but a flash away from Kaney keeps them alive, and Kaze will have to back away. Did it all with dashes and Spirit Rush, though, so holds onto his own flash.
Foi no momento que pegou o ultimate na frente do King, né? O Kazé não hesitou, foi pra
Kaney has to go and back right now from level 5. He's not going to be able to off the ultimate. Yes, Robo is going to get 1v1 again. Oh my good grief, dude. Zints with the 4th solo kill of the day onto Robo. He's going to crash another wave, pick up the plates. He's 17 CS up. He's 1,000 gold up.
Yeah.
6 minutes into the game, bro. It is just, it's nightmarish.
I just realized I was muted as well in the previous one. And yeah, just like Robo, I'm feeling really bad about that. But maybe Robo is feeling worse because this is not only losing your life twice, it's you're losing a huge wave of minions. The wave is bouncing back into the Aurora, so that means that you can set up another potential kill there. And once again, you also have to think about when Steps reaches level 6. Because as soon as the Nocturne is level 6, you can see a repeat gank going into the top lane from a safe distance. You think nothing's going to happen, and then you die. But the worst about that is that also you don't need to pay attention to Robo realistically if you're Steps. You can just wholeheartedly abandon this top lane, let Sins do whatever he wants, and focus on the rest of the map. And if you get ahead as a Steps with the rest of the members, you're doing an amazing job. He already has level 6, so he can pull off whatever play he's wanting to go for. He can even go for Dragon if he thinks about it. But it's just that it opens up so much space having a lane that is so far ahead compared to the rest.
It really does. Karaoke, level 6 as well. Stepping up aggressively to push Steps back. Knows that he's got the priority in mid and bot lane right now. Steps going to just work on his red buff. Karaoke might look to pull off a little bit of a steal right now. Curry and Trigger already tending upwards to see. Here comes the 1v1. The fear's going to come out. Cyclone committed actually by Karaoke. That's a big ult off the table. Is he going to even find the red buff? Second charge lands. Steps going lower. He gets his own red buff actually, I think. So he doesn't even find it. Jhin ultimate now crashing into him. Steps picks up.
Engage with
a stolen Nico ultimate catches the remaining 3 members. Trigger's already gone down. Frosty's looking for a knockup, finds it onto Kane. He's dropping pretty low, gets charged away, can't quite escape as the orb cuts through him and knocks down that one kill for Kane.
Yeah.
Kaze and Steps will catch him on the retreat, and Red are just dancing on pain once again. What a rotation from Kaze.
Well, at least they got Frosty, I guess. Now, at least they get something back, because everything else is just falling into pieces for Pain. Well, they're honoring their name. It feels like everything is Pain for them, in a way. It's really unlucky, because I think that the idea was not bad. They were trying to move in as a 3-man squad. You have your ultimate, you have your members that are strong at this point, and maybe you can look for something more. But then you lose the red buff, the re-engage is just simply much better by red, and then you have the super long-range ultimate by Morpheus that doesn't even need to be there to provide enough support. And then the cherry on top, Kaze stealing the Nico ultimate and killing everyone, or getting the 3-man knockup with that. It's just so well done, so well played, and everything working in their favor. They will lose the grubs though, so at the very least an objective going back in the favor of Pain.
Yeah, not nothing picked up by Pain. They're going to have something to work with here. Zinz
Robo
commits the ultimate now. Protobelt's forward. The burst is coming through. Another passive proc drops Robo down to about 300. He has to ult back to safety. Holds on to his summoners at least. The flash and exhaust still available. Karioka has picked up those 2 rubs as well. And we can see Pain were preparing for this for a long, long time. They had the rotations through, but they don't even make that much impact on the first play.
It was a long setup, and the idea was not bad. I'm not sure how they lost the red buff here, to be honest. Maybe an early smite at the point. But the thing is here, you get the darkness from the Nocturne ultimate, plus the steal from Cassie, and this is the real value out of the Silas pick, right? You get, I mean the Silas pick, you get the steal plus the Paranoia combo. It's like if you had Nico, but on steroids. It's just much better.
Yeah, I didn't even notice the Paranoia spike. That is terrifying to deal with. In the enemy jungle, lights turn out and suddenly you're all knocked up by Stolen Pot Blossom.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a nightmare for Pain. The Dragon goes over to red, so matching an objective at this point. Zinz now is winning 1v1 still, but Karaoke is topside. I think Zinz is aware of this. He's not forcing the duel to continue. He's aware there could be a threatening jungler around the corner.
Yeah, the only thing you don't want to do as Zinz at all is just give back a kill to the Bane, because you already are dominating her. You don't need to give any sort of gold back. So respecting the play is perfect. You open up the space here for Steps to come in down here on the bot side, get a little bit of gold in his favor, and allow for Musteos to get the push. Now, this is just pretty methodical by them to just get the control that they need in the spots that they are, and they don't need to overcommit. They already got the lead. As long as they play around this lead normally, they should get to 20 minutes with 1.5, 2 items completed on their main carries, and they can force any fight they want at that point, because their mid game is going to be much better.
Yeah, for sure. They're very, very comfortable at this spot. We saw bot lane Morteus just happily trading away. He's down a little bit of CS, yes, but Frosty has been rotating a lot. The rest of the map has needed some attention.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we want from Frosty, right? He's got 2 assists, no deaths. He's going to be absolutely fine. He is going to be useful later on using the ultimate and the CC. And that is the kind of option that that Red would like to have now going forward from this bot side. Now, Steps looking for a play onto Robo. He has tried to cut him off right here, but I don't think he's going to fully commit for him. Robo, in fact, is trying to stick with the tower. To be honest, this Vayne isn't really worth much gold right now, I reckon, so probably no need to overdo it. And I think, Steps does not feel the need to dive Vayne at this stage.
Yeah, she even has the exhaust right now. I'm pretty sure that the exhaust icon now. She even has the exhaust, so trying to play around it, it's going to be... that was
quite tagging with the ult.
Yeah,
Kaze goes in, lands onto the clone for Karaoke. He does have a Spirit Rush to go forward. He is going to commit it for a bit of extra damage. Kaney is really dropping low right now. Yeah, that is tough. Kaze threatening a lot right. Oh, goes for the double dash in as well. Kaney has to have eyes in the back of his head. Will survive for the time being, but Kaze keeps
doesn't have ulti now. Maybe a Nocturne ulti? Paranoia?
He could commit for it. There's still a flash for Kaney, and it looks like Steps again wants to play the reserve triggers. Robo looks like still suffering, as Frosty actually commits the quickness, gets a flash from Trigger, rooted by Nico. They're looking for more CC, and Steps is paranoid, but doesn't want to overdo it again. Continued reservation from Red, not wanting to send it and potentially throw away a shutdown for no reason.
But it's not like them holding back and not overly committed is costing them anything, right? Because they blow already 2 flashes, so Nico and Caitlyn now don't have flash. They also take Karioka out of the way because they know where the Wukong is, and he's not going to be able to pull any play at all. And in a few minutes, or even a few seconds, in what, probably 45 seconds, Steps will have his ultimate back up. He can go down there to the bot side, set up another kill, and you kill the both of them in the same manner. So it's like you can still take your time for the plays that you want, but it's still benefiting Red in the long run because they are just taking enough advantages that's going to be meaningful later on as Kane take us a big trade there.
Yeah, Kaze on the Silas. We didn't really speak about it much, but this was kind of one of the first iconic picks of Kaze in Tier 1 CBLOL, right? He's always been strong on the melee assassins. In CD, his Zed was absolutely terrifying, but once he got promoted up, the Silas was earned in the same way that Frosty's Bard earns kind of solo bans regardless of meta position. Kaze Silas was earning the same, even internationally, right? This guy's Silas is very well renowned. We can see that once you get past those first few levels where you're playing melee into range and Ari can push you around, he is an absolute demon right now, going aggressively onto Robo, gets the ultimate caught out, is still trading super heavily. Frosty misses the knockup, and the Q gets Robo away. He'll flash to safety, but Kaze had done 90% of the work before he even arrived.
Yeah, realistically, I was expecting to see Frosty steal the kill with a random W, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But hey, Robo doesn't die. That's the most important thing. And now you can try and maybe set up on that to farm a little bit, get back into play, have some sort of value as this Bane. And they did commit 2 members topside, so maybe now they can look into playing for the spot side, although there's no objective, so there's barely anything that they can actually do. And Zin's already kind of killed Kaine. He didn't kill him legitimately, but he's out of the fight.
We don't really need to worry about him. Yeah, he's gone. There's nothing much to him to do here. Frosty doesn't quite get the cancel. The empowered recall from the mid lane quest gets Kaine out of there in time. Zinz is just going to start working on this bot lane turret. He basically soloed the top lane turret entirely by himself and has a whole set of plates ready to pick up on bot lane for him.
Oh, this Frosty angle is beautiful.
Knock up, we have a Paranoia coming through. Zinz has big burst onto Kaine as well around the side. Nico looks for the knock-up, cannot find anyone.
Zinz is playing this so well.
Repositions with Aurora ult, doesn't find the knock-up. Karaoke though, flashes in with the Cyclone. He's gonna get one back. Frosty and Trigger going at it in that top side. Kaze working on the Caitlyn, just blocking him out. And the Silas picks it up. Karaoke and Kaine might be in danger right now. Kaze with the Spirit Rush, looks for the kill onto Kaine, forces a flash. Stolen Caitlyn ultimate actually, goes onto the Wukong. Morteus and Steps will finish him off. Red are just running rampant over Pain in bot jungle.
Yeah, pop goes the Monkey, pop goes the Nico, pop goes the Fox even, because Ari is a bot. Well, actually, she didn't die, but everyone else goes pop. Everyone just dies pretty comfortably. The angle that Frosty found there, being able to dive deep into the enemy territory, pretty comfortable because there's no way to actually put a stop to them. And then even though Nico has the ultimate to try and knock up people, doesn't find a lot of the good targets, Zinz does end up dying, which is a good amount of gold that you get back. But he plays it out really nicely because he just jumps around multiple people, buys enough time that they can take down the Caitlyn and the Wukong, or at the very least the Nico as well in the process. And the value from the Paranoia here, yes, you're able to try and go onto multiple targets, but because you don't know exactly where some of the members are, you find yourself like Trigger there, where you don't know where to walk, you end up getting collapsed on, and the remaining members can just go towards Kaine and Karaoke that are by themselves. They don't have a lot of places to run away, and even if one survives, the other dies, and you get collapsed or enough power to dive onto the turret and get damage onto it. It's very easy for Red at this point because not only are they ahead, but they have complete control of the map.
Yeah, it's another early Red advantage being snowballed into the objectives here. Cloud Drake being worked on by Steps. Has level 10 for now. Paranoia is available, but he'd love to get level. Just takes level 11 on that Drake take, so he's going to get even more power and cooldown off that critical ultimate ability. And the rest of the map just continues to be comfortable for Red right now. The only, the top side is very far ahead for Red. The mid and bot side, admittedly, are fairly even. But it's really just because Steps and Zinz have been soaking up so much gold. Kaze has been digging himself out of early disadvantages with his aggressive plays, picking up kills in the fights. And Morteus is playing supportive this game. So Red, everything's going to plan. Now that they have this level of power, we're about 16 minutes in. The quests are getting completed very shortly. I'm expecting to see them now start to really push for more objectives, to push for more team fighting, because we saw how well they can perform in that bot play as Karaoke now looking for more. Stolen Cyclone for Kaze is going to try and get him out of there. Frosty with a quickness to lock down a potential counter engage as Kaine looking for more. Spirit rushes in, doesn't land the charm. There's no
not this.
in the area. He's in fact top lane. And the Paranoia is going to come in, locks down onto Robo. Exhaust is there, but it will not stop Zinz picking up the kill as Curry now flashes in with the Proto Belt. Gets onto Kaze. He cleanses away, but he still gets charmed.
Really good play.
Killed up by Kaine and a second for Karaoke. So finally, something of a clean success for Pain in bot lane.
Yeah, good pick all around. Really nice play there by Curry, playing around with the minions, and then able to find both Cassie and Frosty there. Really good overall. They get the turret as well. So at the very least, some gold is going back. Yes, you killed the Bane, sadly for Robo, but he's not worth as much gold at this point, at the very least. So you can get something more meaningful back if you play like that as Spain. They will lose the Rift Herald. They will be losing some more turrets after this play. But at the very least, you're finding something. You want to keep yourself as close as possible in any manner possible. I don't think we needed the replay onto Robo. I probably think it's better to see the replay bot side.
Yeah, I think we know what's happening here. You know, I assume we're hopefully going to see the bot play as well. Here we go.
Yeah, Paranoia actually playing a little bit against you here because yes, you know, it doesn't like really shuts down your vision, but with Paranoia, there's an extra layer of attention that you kind of use on something else instead of focusing on the minions. And since Curry was coming there first hand waiting to dive, I think that also took away from the attention that Frosty and Kaze had on the minion wave and instead made them more likely to fall victim to that play.
Yeah, is just another extra thing that you're kind of distracted in your thought process when the Paranoia comes down. And Pain wait it out very well and make the play successfully. Still about 3,000 gold down, but they have managed to stall it for the time being. Making that play, picking up the bot turret as well, so we're still one turret apiece right now. And like I said, it is really the top side that is where the lead lives for Red Canids. That bot side, gold-wise, you know, there's pretty even footing right there. Morteus, because of those cheaper items, has gotten 2 completed already. But Trigger working his way towards that Infinity Edge is going to have that 2 items to play with, the Hex Optic as well, as we saw Ayu do a lot of work with last series, I should say. So definitely things to play with as the Herald comes crashing into mid lane. Red are not going to quite pick up the tower on this push, it looks like. If they can get Morteus in there, maybe they can. Pain again have to back away. So Red will open up that mid outer.
I think one of the main problems here for Pain is that, yes, you may get stronger with that second item coming in from Trigger. The problem is that at the 2-item mark, the side of Red is really, really strong. Like, they are much, much, much stronger than Pain on 2 items. And that means that for the next Dragon that is going to be Soul Point, for a potential Baron attempt earlier in the game, like around 20 minutes, or maybe not 20 minutes, but like 25, 26 minutes, you're going to have a much stronger power spike as Red. That means that for Pain that will need a little bit longer to scale back, it may be just defining moments that they are not going to be ready to be able to fight back for, and that can just make them lose even more gold and fall behind even farther. So they need to be ready to respond accordingly, or at the very least, to have some way of fighting back in a way that they don't lose a lot of members in the process.
Looking at, we do have some of these item spikes coming through. The Caitlyn Infinity Edge is done. We don't quite have 2 items for Kaney yet. It looks like Robo is going for Storm Razor into Triforce, I guess.
Triforce, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have wondered if it was an Essence Reaver perhaps, but with the Ruby Crystal, I'm assuming Triforce, so it's going to be a little tankier.
More tanky build.
Yeah, because they already have, you already got Trigger going full crit, right? So they already have a lot of damage. So maybe this is going to be a little bit of false tanking. We see something like a Jack Show later on, or one of these sort of Callista Varus-esque builds where they get their core damage and then they just start building defense.
Could be something more focused on split pushing as well. Instead of actually forcing like a team fighting sort of Bane, you go for something in the split push where you can 100% try and win against Sins. Yeah, something like that puts pressure on the other side of the map, and that way maybe Pain can play around it. The only problem with that I see is that since you're very squishy, you can die at any point. So like, even if you're pushing on the side lane, Steps ulti into Aurora ulti, you dead. Kind of.
Yeah, like at this point when he's so far behind, he just does not have any influence over the game right now. Like, he has to just accept any farm he can find it, and if he gets caught, he's pretty much dead. Now, Pain have started up this Dragon, and Red are looking for Chemtech Soul Point right here. Karaoke's looking for a way in. Gets Morteus, the flash is there. In comes the rotation. Vayne's in the backline. Robo's going to have a fight to play right here. Red not in the best spot. Morteus is going to go down. Kaney's been traded. Trigger getting worked on by Zinz. That's going to be the carries down. And Kaze and Steps working through the remaining Pain members. Quadra kill for the Kaze Silas. Pain had a couple of plays to offer there, but Red are just too strong.
And that was really a well-diff sort of team fight there. Or actually a kind of setup diff sort of team fight as well. Because Trigger dies on the side to the Aurora coming in. Sins committed everything only to kill the Caitlyn. But that was because Caitlyn was so out of position in the fight that barely could provide any sort of damage. And in that fight, you see actually the Bane dropping deep. but you don't find a lot of volume. Morteos there gets collapsed on immediately by Carioca. Even with the paranoia, they are collapsing onto Morteos so effectively, but look how long he lasts. He's still alive, he's still alive, he's still alive, and everyone else is dying in the process. Trigger is over on the side, barely doing anything, and when your AD carry is essentially out of the fight, and the enemy AD carry survives for what seems like 10 seconds, the rest of the team can just close out on the fight so effectively, and there's barely any issue at all. And they just wanted to kill Curie.
Yeah, caught by the stolen Nico ultimate.
Oh no, Trigger.
Kaze. He's diving for the paranoia's coming in as well. Trigger isolated in the mid lane.
And
Morteus, Frosty, and Steps will work him over as Karaoke sniped by the deadly flourish from Morteus to finish it off. The Baron is free and easy for them, as the only Pain member left on the side of the map is Kaney, and he's channeling the recall. Kaze doesn't want to give him the option. Spirit Rush burned by the Ahri. Kaze doesn't have the ability to steal an ultimate right now. He already used the Nico version as Morteus come around the corner. Kaney is going to run them round the houses for a little bit, but there's a lot of red turrets still up. Sidestep Tip's gone abzucked. Frosty is going to get rid of the Empowered Blast Cone, looks for a knockup, finds it. Kaze gets into range. Morteus is round the corner with a 4-shot. Q, 4-shot. Kaze is dominating.
I'm pretty sure they were trying to see who would throw the ability first, to see who can get the kill there. I don't even think they were staggering the death. They were just waiting to see who could get the last shot on the kill, and it's Kaze the one that gets another one. 8-1 and 2. Silas' performance so far. He's been doing great.
He's absolutely monstrous on it. The fact he can go into all of these team fights and can basically always steal either Nico ultimate for like team fight winning CC or Spirit Rush, and he already has multiple dashes in his kit, right? And then 3 more dashes that deal damage on his ultimate. He's everywhere in the play. He can reach any backline. You can go from backline to frontline and back again with how much mobility he has in these plays.
And even though Bane is a champion that has a lot of mobility, Caitlyn has some ways to try and escape. With that extra added mobility, you just simply cannot escape the Silas at all. And when he's this far ahead, it's so easy for him to be able to lock down and kill. But importantly as well, it's the fact that you have that Silas that is super far ahead. You have the ultimates that he can steal that are really effective to kill targets. And then you also have the value from the Rakan, from the, what is called the Paranoia, to just take away even more ability for Pain to fight back, and it's just simply very easily for them to lock down targets and kill them. It's like everything in this composition was built to be able to just take away every bit of your senses and then just die miserably on the side.
Yeah, very oppressive game for Pain to try and play out here, and they have struggled a lot right now. The Caitlyn trap line goes down in bot lane. Paranoia flies right over it, and here's the follow-up. Red cannot be denied by a simple tower. A line of Caitlyn traps will not keep them out of your base.
Yeah, they don't even care about them. They just dive in, they get the kills, and they can even go forward here. Kaze has now the Spirit Rush like that.
Oh my goodness, he's 1v5. My guy's 1v5. Goes into the Seekers, does still have some healing to offer. Spirit rushes to safety. Zinz now steps in to drop down the burst. Frosty looks for a knockup. Kaze's back in. He's back out, and the inhibitor goes down. It is impossible to keep track of this guy.
Yeah, it's very difficult to keep with taps on him, and even though Steps went back to base to try and come back here and fight, he's just coming back. They are trying to close out this game. I don't think there's any way for Pain to put a stop to this. This is GG.
Yeah, that's going to be it. The Nexus is exposed. Kaze continuing to run rampant over the front line.
Trap. Wait, Kaze.
He's got caught up. One more auto trigger. Autos Morteus instead. Can he flash in?
Okay,
Curry
they get it.
Gets the credit. And Pain will offer one last gasp as Robo steps up and gets his head blown off by Zinz for a 5th time this game. And the game's not done, folks, but I'll be honest, it's pretty done.
Yeah, Raid Boss is down. They kill Kaze. That's something good. They get the gold back in their favor, although it went into the Nico, sadly, not the Caitlyn. Pretty sure misclick by the Caitlyn, hitting the Morteos instead of hitting the Silas in that spot. But still, at the end of the day, they have enough damage on the side of Red to just come back here. Everyone goes back into the base, and then they get the kill. They can just do the same thing that they did onto Trigger before blowing the base open. Just similar steps, press R and kill the Caitlyn, and then kill the rest of the members.
Yeah, pretty much. Should just be that simple. Red still 11k up. They haven't even had time to get the Chemtech sold. 20 seconds and it will spawn onto the Rift. I imagine they could just roll up and team fight and they take it without an issue. But instead, Zinz and Steps are going to head onto this top side and keep this push going. continue threatening Pain across multiple sides of the map. Karaoke was at the Dragon, is now looking to
Oh, no.
reposition, but Red want to make a
Oh,
play on
no.
mid lane regardless. They don't even have the full top lane, but in comes Steps, flying in with the paranoia, and the fight
Morteus.
goes well once again. It's down onto Morteus. Morteus has been knocked down by Pain. They've got one carry, but can they kill Kaze? Can they kill Steps? Robo is trying to do his best. He's trying to kite it out as a Vayne can, but he's tagged by the Nocturne
killed
Fear.
Frosty.
Kaze will knock him down as Frosty is taken out by Kaney. Meanwhile, Zinz has been happily pushing top lane this whole time and is just autoing the Nexus. Kaney arrives in the base, will shove off this Aurora for the time being. There's no ult available on the Ahri. He's going to get some burst coming down. Steps is now joining the party. Landing the charm is Kaney, but
It's game
what
over,
more
yeah.
can he do? He doesn't have enough summoners, doesn't have enough damage, doesn't have enough spells. And Red Canids will complete the second 2-0 of the day. Both of our favorites locking up decisive victories. We know the top half of our table is looking very fearsome right now.
Yeah, both of them winning handily, I would argue. I think Red won way more dominantly than Furia did. Furia did had that first game
That first
a
game,
little bit,
yeah.
but the second one did come much better. But the way Red won was way better, way more dominant, way more consistent as well in the way that they just completely demolished. I think you have to push forward the narrative here. Obviously, Steps looking like potentially one of the best youngers in the league so far. The team cohesion has been going really good. Solo laners stepping up, particularly since having such a good series today. Solo killing Robo multiple times and dominating Robo in ways that I don't think a lot of people were expecting. I do think that people weren't thinking Robo was going to win the matchup handily. But I don't think nobody saw him like consistently getting solo killed, getting pushed, dying so much. It was such a dominating game by Sins. And the thing now to look into Red, which I was trying to confirm as well, this is their third 2-0. They've been dominating each series that they've played so far.
Yeah, they are on a massive roll right now. Zinz particularly a highlight of today that we were waiting to see him if he had that same star potential. It seems like today, again, it's into Robo, it's into Pain. It's not the hardest of opponents here, but he was dominating. He was solo killing on repeat. He was team fighting like a monster on the Gnar. Absolutely stellar performance from Zinz, the new top laner for Red. So that's kind of put the last piece into place. Red, we now have to wait to see who is going to be able to answer them, right? Their next match is against Lev, so
Yeah,
I think we're probably going 8-0, I'll be honest.
That pretty much qualifies them,
to-
right? I think that pretty much will qualify
so.
them with a 4-0 if they win.
Yeah, I mean, surely there's no way they're getting knocked down at this point when there's, I
at
think,
least
6 spots in
playoffs.
playoffs.
At least
And
playoffs
Leviathan
will be
and
secured.
Pain, yeah, Leviathan and Pain are the only two teams that are not locked in, not in currently in playoffs, and they would need to be the ones that would need to start putting some wins together. Not looking super likely. We're not going to see Red versus Los and Furia until their last 2 matches of the split. So they're going to have their schedule is going to ramp up towards the end, but it seems like they're going to keep this gravy train rolling throughout the regular season. And I'd be surprised to see them drop a game until Los at least.
Yeah, that at the very least will be the most exciting matchup potentially for what Red has left. Obviously, the remaining members or the remaining teams, probably the other one that you look forward to is that Bibo Kidstars one, just because obviously you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think Bibo Kid is a team that needs to ramp up, but it's probably one of the biggest tests that they will have to really show if they are on the cusp of being a top team or if they are just below that. And then obviously the Furia Lows is where you really set the difference if they are candidates to even win it all. If they win against Furia, I would argue if they win against Furia or Loss, I would put them in the candidate spot. They just need to win one of those, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a short road to success for them, and I expect to see Red locking that in without too much trouble. For Pain, I don't know, man. We're still on fire. It's all on fire. Kaney is he's doing. Yeah, she's not really that impactful, I think, as a player. I mean, again, today's into Kaze, into Silas, whatever, dude. It's not that everyone's lost to Kaze Silas, but Robo was completely nowhere to be found. The bot lane was just uninspiring, I guess, through mid and bot, and then Karaoke did not seem to change Pain in any way. There was no change in dynamic, and there was not really any visible difference there. So I don't know, bro. I think we might be going split too fast, but it's for Pain. What can you do? You can keep changing stuff if you want, but I don't know if it's gonna. I think it's too late to save this split potentially.
So
They've got
they
like
need to
one more
think
week
to
maybe.
change things, but I think, like you're mentioning, probably change things looking into Split 3. Because yes, MSI is probably going to be good, and if you want to get like another championship, that's great. But at this point, I feel like for salvaging the year, you have to look into Worlds. And if right now everything is on fire, you just have to look for what place you can throw, like extinguish the flames a little bit so that it's manageable, and then turn that into something to look into for Split 3. It's really dooming to think like that for Pain, but the reality is that I'm not sure if I can take a lot of positives out of their play here. Like, I think they are in a much better spot, at the very least, for what I think where Leviathan is. If I compare the two of them, I think Pain is in a better spot than Leviathan. Not by much, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there's a better things to try and work with. The problem is that those better things to work with still need to work a lot for me to really look to give them like an opportunity in the future. So they need to work on something for Split 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see if they have a plan, if they can salvage anything from this split. For now, I do believe we've actually already sent the raid to LCS.
Oh.
So I mean, it looks like we have on the Twitch, but maybe I'm wrong. Productions told me that we're still live, so we'll wrap this up. Okay, with that, at the very least, we don't have anything more to talk about. Regardless, I think that's kind of put the bow on it there, TDS. So for now, we will wrap it up. We will pass it over to the LCS, so everyone can go and jump and join our North American cousins as they continue through their split. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Dia, for producing for us. We have some we've got more and more VMix producers coming through, so we can have nice, shiny streams for all you guys to enjoy. Thank you, everybody who stuck with us and watched out these games. We have more coming Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, potentially. We'll get streams up. We definitely have a stream for Sunday. We'll get Monday and Tuesday up as best we can. Obviously, these are much more difficult days for us to schedule around people's lives and jobs, etc. So we shall see what we can do. But besides that, thank you all one last time. Thank you, TDS, for joining me as well, as always. And we will see, at the very least, we'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place, for more CBLOL Split 1 regular season action.